fiscal risks will be very important going forward. The external environment remains uncertain and volatile, with risks from global conflicts and commodity price volatility. This underscores the need for continued prudent fiscal and monetary policy, stronger buffers, advancing structural reforms, and enhancing resilience. The overarching objective going forward is to entrench macroeconomic stability and support stronger, more inclusive growth. Sustained reform momentum would be required, stronger institutions are needed, and continued focus on private sector growth and employment should be prioritized. Let me close by commending the Ghanaian authorities for their strong engagement in reforms. And above all, we would like to recognize the resilience and the determination of the Ghanaian people, which has been central to these achievements, which are undeniable. Avoiding past cycles of fiscal imbalances and rising debt and staying the course on reforms will be key to securing the durable gains going forward. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to answer your questions.
Thank you very much. So at this stage, we would take questions from members of the media. Members of the media, if you have a question, just draw our attention. The microphone will be brought to you. Identify yourself and then you shoot.
And also for another clarity, should investors see it as more or less a credibility, more or less, to the IMF chief? Is that something you would recommend? Or what are your reservations with it? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Winston Taki of Joy News. I want to get from the IMF what prevailing risks still purchase.
Well, my question also is on the PCI. I want to find out if the PCI is equity. I want to find out if this is consistent with the program conditionalities.
Thank you very much. So last one in this round.
Thank you very much.
So an emergency bailout again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the minister and the mission
Okay,
chief.
so I will start then. Thank you very much. The time frame for the PCI is 36 months. 36 months. 36 months. How the PCI works, the mission chief will take you through it. It's largely reform-based, and you agree on a reform package, and the reforms will be reviewed twice a year. And just like a normal review, and it will go to board for board approval and a stamp to indicate to the world that Ghana is on path. And so, but the mission chief will take you through the details. You also asked a question, how soon do we expect to go to the market? I just want to say that we are not in a hurry to go to the international capital market. And if we find a need for us to go to the international capital market, we will accordingly inform the people of Ghana. One thing is for sure, the 2027 budget never assumed for us to go to the international capital. 2026 budget never assumed that we are going to go to the capital market for any form of financing. So it is off the table, at least for this year. In the medium term, it will depend on what the government seeks to do. But I can assure you that we are not in a hurry to go back to the capital market. The energy sector risk, the IMF will answer that. And then the issues on bailout that you just raised. Yes, PCI, as I said, is not a bailout. And so what we seek to do is to make sure that whatever we do today is sustainable, so that we don't go back to the good old bad days where we get to an emergency situation that we have to go to the IMF. And so for this reason why we are putting in place measures so that we don't get to where we have to go for a bailout. We believe that we do not have a need to go for a bailout currently, but it doesn't mean we should lower our guard. It means that we don't have to be complacent. We need to work more harder, and we need to sustain the gains of economic stability to be able to attract private investment into our country and be able to build on it for sustainable growth that will benefit particularly youth unemployment. And so these are some of the things that we are putting in place. So bailout is out of the equation. But let me also make this point. And when I was a deputy minister here under Minister Tepe, he has often said that as for indiscipline, there's always a price for indiscipline. So you can, for example, today come out of an IMF program. And if you come out of an IMF program and you decide to be indisciplined for 1 year, it may be enough justification to go back after the following year. And so I believe in it. Clearly, indiscipline is what has landed Ghana on a number of bailout programs, because largely we deplete our reserves so fast, and we enjoy the benefits of consolidation so quickly, and in the end, we'll go back to where we don't have to be. But what we seek to do going forward is to build on the momentum that this ECF has created for all of us and sustain it for a very long time so that the country can benefit from it. And that's all what we are seeking to do. Thank you.
To the IMF Executive Board in the end of July. At the same time, with the final review on the ECF. So both the final review and ECF will be completed, and the new PCI will be initiated going forward. And with 36 months, we will hope to complete PCI sometime mid in 2029. So the structure of PCI may look very similar to ECF. There are semi-annual reviews, as the minister has explained. There are policy commitments. Things are called a little bit different. Instead of quantitative performance criteria, we have quantitative targets. Structural benchmarks are called reform targets. But in principle, it has the same structure to support that. But the focus is very different. The objective of the PCI, already mentioned, is to support the reforms. It's to support the government and the Bank of Ghana's agenda to carry reforms going forward. And it's supposed to produce a strong signal, the stamp of approval of the IMF on the government's policies. That's why for us, as I mentioned already, legally speaking, it is a form of technical assistance. We're supporting the government in implementing the reform agenda going forward. We hope that this signal is going to be well received by the markets. Certainly, in our meetings with investors, this is something what the markets have been asking, what's coming next after the ECF. So we're very happy that the PCI was considered to be an appropriate instrument for the Ghanaian authorities. In terms of the access to the capital markets, it's a sovereign decision for Ghana. We believe that going forward, based on the fiscal trajectory we have discussed with the government, would be able to finance itself comfortably from domestic markets. We discussed the debt management strategy going forward, and we believe that the resources are available, and the confidence has returned to facilitating recent access to the re-enter to the domestic capital markets, which is an ultimate milestone of the success of the government policy agenda. In our discussion with international investors, we do see a lot of interest in exposure to Ghana. The good story of Ghana has been noticed, and we get bombarded by requests from the investors to meet and talk about Ghana going forward. So whenever the government will decide to re-enter capital markets, certainly the interest will be there, of course conditional on sustained progress in terms of the reforms. What are the lessons learned from the IMF bailout? I think whenever I meet anybody asking questions about Ghana, the question I typically get is this time is going to be different, right? So this is something which is not the question I can answer. I think Minister has given assurances. But let me just say a few words about my reflections on many discussions we have had with Ghanaian authorities. We believe that the lessons have been learned. It was very difficult, very traumatic for the Ghanaian people, for the country, to go through the crisis of 2022. And the pain has been real, and this pain has been internalized. And the reform momentum under the ECF demonstrates that the lessons have been learned on that. Going forward, of course, it's important to continue prudent policies and continue reforms. What ECF has managed is to successfully stabilize the country. But stabilization and resilience are two different things. So focus needs to be on building resilience going forward. And for that, the ultimate objective is not the constraints of the IMF coming from outside, but ultimately the strength of the domestic institutions. And this is what we really try to internalize in terms of the design of the PCI when we discuss it with our counterparts here. And the focus there is not on adjustment. The focus is rather on strengthening domestic institutions, fiscal institutions, financial institutions, to ensure that no contingent liabilities are created outside of the central government, that no quasi-fiscal activities build fiscal risk going forward, that no SOEs pose fiscal risk going forward for the government, which will, when the shock comes, materialize in a drain of public financial resources. So this is the focus, and we're quite hopeful that the lesson has been internalized and it will be different this time.
That's a joint press conference that happened a while ago at the Finance Ministry, and the person you had right now is Reuben Atoyan. He's the IMF mission chief. And earlier, we also heard from Finance Minister Dr. Akufo-Addo. Let's explore this further. And joining me on telephone lines right now is economist Professor Godfrey Bokpin. Welcome to the program. So does the PCI effectively keep Ghana under IMF monitoring despite the end of the bailout? Hello, Dr. Bokpin. We're trying to work the telephone lines to get economist Dr. Godfrey Bokpin to explain to us what this new phase of our IMF program actually means. And you've been listening to the Finance Minister Akufo-Addo and also executives from the International Monetary Fund led by the IMF mission chief, Reuben Atoyan. And if you just joined the conversation, the news coming out right now is that Ghana, the government has announced an end to the country's IMF financial bailout program after successfully concluding the country's extended credit facility arrangement. And they've cited sharp declines in inflation, a stronger cedi, rising foreign reserves, and improved debt sustainability. But even as government celebrates the milestone as proof that Ghana can now stand on its feet, there are already questions as to what this means. And what a better person to tell us what all of this means than Professor Godfrey Bokpin. He's an economist. Welcome to the program, Professor Bokpin. What does this mean, this new phase?
Yes, I think fundamentally we have made good progress under the 17th IMF-supported program, but there are vulnerabilities. There are vulnerabilities, even though we do not have a protracted balance of payment problem. There are vulnerabilities that the country on its own, given its own past record, may not be able to implement those strong structural reforms on its own, and therefore I'm sure the recent government considered that another instrument under the same IMF would help to anchor government-owned policy for the next 36 months or so, and then to also anchor investor confidence in our economy. To that extent, I would say that, yes, it's a good move, even though the way the policy coordination instrument works is a bit different from the extended credit facility or the extended fund facility. It's still better that we are under that kind of adult supervision, because time and again, for 17 times or so, we have demonstrated that without that external anchor, we are unable to implement strong reforms, and we tend to suffer relapse after we check out of the IMF Rehabilitation Center.
The question many are asking is, can Ghana realistically sustain fiscal discipline without direct IMF financing conditions?
We have not been able to demonstrate that since independence. And the evidence on the ground tells us that since independence, we have spent more of our years post-independence under the supervision guidance of the IMF and the World Bank than we have actually spent on our own. In fact, under the Fourth Republic, from 1993, if you check the data, you will again see that we have spent more of our years under the Fourth Republic, under the guidance, supervision of the IMF, than we have spent on our own. The other bit to also take into consideration is that since independence, perhaps with the exception of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, almost all the major reforms, policy interventions, have either come directly from the IMF and the World Bank-led reforms, or with their blessings in one way or the other. So we have not been able to build institutions, and we have not been able to exercise the necessary discipline that allows us to manage our affairs on our own post-IMF program without suffering a relapse. In fact, our own estimation indicates that without some form of IMF instrument or program, we are likely to return to the IMF by 2033 or 34.
And does the PCI signal lingering investor concerns about Ghana's economic stability, you'd say?
Yeah, look, whether we like it or not, we have made good progress since we went under this IMF program. But whether we also like it or not, there are structural vulnerabilities which threatens the very progress we have made. So protecting the limited macroeconomic gains itself, we need that kind of room. I'm not too sure we have demonstrated that on our own we'll be able to deliver that. I am afraid. I am not convinced. Look, let me ask you a question. We have been fighting illegal mining on our own for how many years now? Hello?
Since forever.
For how many years now?
Since forever.
Forever. What institutional and leadership do we have in this country to respond to an existential threat from the destruction of our environment? Have we been able to show leadership over there? Okay.
That's an interesting comparison, though. But what practical difference exists between the ECF and the PCI?
Yes, so the extended credit facility has a funding component, and usually if a company is going through a protracted balance of payment, then that becomes very instrumental. And the monitoring mechanism is also rigorous there, and because it's tied to the release of IMF funding and other coordinated funding from our development partners, we tend to put a lot of premium in there in meeting those conditionalities and all of that. The same is not true under the PCI, but one can also understand why government would choose the PCI because of world gold price, where it is now. We have strong reserves and all of that, and we have a strong CD. For whatever reason we did this, we can talk about that later. So there are no compelling reasons from balance of payment point of view to sign up for a funded program, even though the argument could still be made that given that we still need concessionary funding and all of that, and IMF provide concessionary funding, that could have been an option. But for now, I think that given the circumstances, perhaps we'll say that this is a much better than none. Remember, there have been calls, even within government, of exiting the IMF program completely.
Right.
Okay, without any form of instrument. That has its own risk. But I think that more fundamentally, hello?
I'm listening to you, sir.
Yeah, more fundamentally, having one form of IMF instrument or so is also good to give strong backing to the Minister of Finance to continue on the path of fiscal consolidation. But my considered view is that going forward, they will have to adjust the fiscal consolidation process a bit, and I'm sure that the minister is fully aware, because we cannot continue to be doing 1.5 primary surplus or so, given also the amended Public Financial Management Act with the enshrined debt limit rules of 45% by 2034, given that our debt to GDP ratio is currently around 45 or below 46%, chances are that government then could do a little bit more spending and accommodate a little bit more deficit than we have done in 2024, 2025 and 2026, so that we can scale up on infrastructure spending. But that is also contingent on the fact that we would explore higher value for money, and we will not pack it with a contract of evaluation and corruption and all of that. All of these things take a lot away from our developmental outcome.
Could Ghana have exited the IMF framework completely at this stage?
I wasn't going to support that, given the kind of people we have in this country and those who are in charge of this economy. I will not trust them to that extent. I'm very sorry.
Why is that?
We know who we are. I mean, if any government, if anybody will show up in this country and show us credible leadership and put credible leadership on the table, I'll be very happy to say, let's walk away from the IMF. I'll be very happy. I'll be very happy. Look, Malaysia, that gained independence from Ghana the same year as Ghana, has never been to the IMF. But I can assure you, Malaysia has implemented IMF-backed policies on their own, and they've achieved results. They take IMF policy prescriptions, and they themselves do it. We don't have that discipline. I'm just giving you one example.
Right.
That do we need one day, we are all in this country, we may have to need one form of external anchor to be able to preserve our environment. This is where Ghana is heading towards. We have leaders who choose where they want to succeed and when they want to succeed. We have chosen the path of leadership that is convenient.
My final question.
So if we are able to show leadership, on the table, I believe that we should be able to rally behind our own leaders and say that, look, we have won independence, but we can demonstrate that we can manage our affairs predictably for long. We'll be happy to come on board, but at this stage, it's very difficult to trust politicians and our current leaders and go to bed and sleep soundly.
And do you think the PCI will help improve Ghana's chances of achieving investment grade status, you'd say?
Well, it is better than none. Remember that it's some level of policy anchor, essentially, and all of that. It comes with some periodic reviews and all of that. But the doing lies with us. We should just understand that the IMF has never transformed any country on the face of the earth. Remember what they do. The best helping hand Ghana can find is at the end of our own arm. But I believe that whilst we are on this PCI, it gives us room to begin to build institutions. The next 36 months, building institutions and all of that. And let's demonstrate that, yes, we can do it ourselves. Let's demonstrate. Right now, we are not there. We are not there.
Right. Professor Godfred Bokkin, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. You're still watching The Pulse here on Joy News. Return from the break with more. Don't go anywhere.
Now let me share my wildlife experience with you at Safari Valley Eco Park.
Welcome to Safari Valley Eco Park.
Our electric shuttle pulled up and in no time our tour began. We were surrounded by wildlife from the moment we entered the Eco Park. We were greeted by experienced tour guides who took us through orientation and how to better enjoy the experience. Watch these animals roam freely in their natural habitat undisturbed by our presence. We saw zebras, sable antelope, brown cranes, mara, silky chicken, nyalas, Shetland ponies, and so many animals I just couldn't keep up. Our tour guides taught us so much about the wildlife, their behavior, and how to interact with them. I even fed them. We also went fishing on a man-made canal. Then we took a break to have lunch in this serene environment. All this amazing experience for this price for adults? This price for teenagers. And this for kids. It's a bargain. As the sun began to set, it was time to go back home, but not before dinner by the campfire. It's been a thrill of a lifetime, and I can't wait till my next visit.
Safari Valley Eco Park, bringing you closer to nature.
in July, everything can wait. The FIFA World Cup 2026. Catch all 104 matches, as little as 58 Ghana cedis, live on SuperSport, only on DSTV.
By NS Chemist Limited. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Welcome to the Ghana Business Leaders Conclave, a rare time with His Royal Majesty Otumfuo-Osei II. This exclusive forum brings together CEOs, board members, policymakers, and captains of industry for a high-level closed-door dialogue on negotiation, mediation, and ethical governance for business sustainability, alongside a rare opportunity to engage in a deeply insightful conversation with one of Africa's most influential and widely respected traditional rulers. Theme: Leading with Integrity, Navigating Mediation and Ethical Governance for Business Sustainability. In today's complex and high-stakes business environment, the ability to make sound ethical decisions under pressure is critical. Join us on Friday, 15th May 2026 at 4 p.m. at the Kofi Ohene Konadu Auditorium on the UPSA campus. For RSVP or enquiries, kindly call 024-431-1996 or 024-587-9187. Be part of this defining conversation where leadership meets legacy and the future of ethical governance is shaped. The Ghana Business Leaders Conclave, a rare time with Otumfuo-Osei II.
This week on The Sages.
Under Nkrumah, it was sort of state monopoly, and development was state-driven. The others came, and it was private sector. But if you look at the situation today, what have we really got from the private sector?
Do you feel that something changed along the line after his overthrow?
Political party A comes and starts a number of projects. It is kick-out of power, and political party B comes and ignores all that and starts its own.
Because of political credit.
Political credit. But if you were sensible, you will finish what has been left.
The Sages, showing this Saturday at 12 p.m. on the Joy News channel.
Welcome back. The U.S. Department of Justice has stonewalled Joy News inquiries into the reasons behind the issuance of an arrest warrant for the MP for Asante Achim as the legislator remains in the custody of Dutch police nearly 120 hours after he was stopped at an airport in the Netherlands under circumstances that still remain unclear. Joy News has gathered that despite mounting questions surrounding the MP's detention and the reported U.S. warrant request, American authorities have so far declined to disclose the nature of the alleged offense or the legal basis for the action, deepening speculation over the high-profile case. Head of our research desk here at Joy News, Isaac Kofi-Addo, is joining me in studio with details of what we are learning. Kofi, what are we learning so far?
Well, so Ken, we are still in the uncertainty stage as far as this particular issue is concerned, and it's been more than close to about a week since his arrest, and we still do not have details of the reason why he was picked up, detained in the Netherlands. So what we try to do on Wednesday was to, send a request to the FBI National Press Office looking for or seeking for information as far as this particular issue is concerned. So 6, categorical questions were sent via mail to the FBI National Press Office, and these 6 questions included the reason for his arrest, and then also to also clarify some of the media reportage that we have seen so far in terms of some of the allegations of the reason for his arrest. And this was done on Wednesday when we sent that information to the FBI. And then less than 24 hours later on Thursday, the FBI National Press Office responded to Joy News, and this was their response, quote, "Hello, thank you for reaching out. We refer you to the Department of Justice Office of International Affairs, and I have copied their spokesperson in your mail." So this was the information, or this was the feedback we got from the FBI, directing us or redirecting us to the Department of Justice Office. And in the US, this is popularly known as the DOJ. So this mail came in on Thursday, and so we're looking forward to that response from the DOJ. Then just the early hours of today, around 2:52 a.m., we got that long-awaited response from the DOJ that responded to the mail that we had sent to the FBI. And their response was pretty much straightforward and not what we really expected anyway. But this was a response from the DOJ, and quotes, "Hi, the U.S. Department of Justice declines to comment. Thank you." This was very short, straightforward, and that was a response we got from the DOJ. And this was signed by Nicole Navas-Oxman, Senior Communication Advisor for International Enforcement and spokesperson of the DOJ. And so as we speak now, we sent 6 questions to the FBI National Press Office seeking for answers. They redirected us to the DOJ, hoping that we could get further and better particulars and clarity as far as the arrest of the Asante Achem North MP, Ohene Kwame Frimpong, is concerned. But what we are learning, per the information we have received so far, is that the U.S. Law enforcement agencies, right from the FBI to the DOJ, remain very tight-lipped as far as the reason for his arrest is concerned. But what we also know, according to what we are picking from the majority caucus, is that currently government, or I should say the majority side of the parliament, is putting together a diplomatic and legal team to try and see if they can possibly stop the MP or the lawmaker from being extradited to the U.S. for possibly trial or whatever that will come out of that. But what we can tell you, based on what we have gotten from the U.S., is that at the moment, there is no clarity. There is no official information indicating the reason for the arrest of the Asante Achem North MP, Ohene Kwame Frimpong. So that was a response that we got from the FBI, which directed us to the DOJ, who gave us that short, straightforward mail response saying, well, we have decided to decline to request, to comment on your mail that you sent us 6 questions seeking for answers, which included the reason for his arrest and then also demanding for clarity as far as some reportage in the media is concerned. So, Ken, this is what we know so far on the issue. We'll continue to press on, keep pressing some tabs to see if we can get fresh information for our viewers.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Isaac Ofieje is the head of research here at Joy News. Away from that, let's talk politics, because the NDC is addressing the media ahead of this year's June 4th commemoration, which marks the 1979 uprising led by former President Jerry Rawlings that overthrew the then military government amid public anger over corruption and economic hardship. Let's now cross over to the NDC's headquarters, where the General Secretary is speaking.
All right, thank you very much. And enuanom ni adofo no mem say ye bebo no tofa na ye kire say dwumadie a yɛdi no ene a ɛyɛ 15th of May no ɛnyɛ sɛ yɛfa ɛda ne kɛkɛ na 15th of May ɛyɛ ɛda bi a NDC anase ɛnkan PNDC yɛn da baako a yɛmfa ni agorɔ ɛyɛ da a yɛde si hɔ sɛ anka His Excellency JJ Rawlings ne first school a ɔyɛɛyɛ a ansosidi anase.
So that's the NDC's Deputy Director of Communications, Godwin Akogan, there narrating what transpired at that particular press conference in Chi. We will take you back to the NDC's headquarters a bit later for the explanation in English. But in the meantime, though, let's bring you more stories. Leave us to lead our people. That was the message from allied health professionals at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital as they embarked on what they describe as a peaceful protest at the Central Laboratory this morning. The group is demanding that management of the hospital and the Ministry of Health expedite the process toward the appointment of a directorate for allied health professionals. According to the protesters, self-governance is necessary to ensure effective administration and representation of their department. Ramat Bashiru has more.
At the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists, together with the allied health professionals, embarked on what they describe as a peaceful protest. Their demand, they say, is just simple. They say that the agreement between the health ministry and the Kolebu management with regards to the revocation of the medical laboratory scientists as the head at the central lab is what they find problematic. And also they want the immediate revocation of that appointment to be made. They gave management a timeline which elapsed on the 12th of May. However, since then they've not heard from management. So this morning they also appealed to the health ministry together with management to expedite the process so that a head will be appointed for their management. Now, I have with me here the public relations officer for the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists, Dr. Gloria Amagachi. Doctor, you are welcome to join us. What specific demands are you asking for?
Thank you very much. This morning, all we're demanding is for reinstatement of our head of department in the person of Dr. Michael Amu Omari, who has been unlawfully his appointment being revoked, and we asking for reinstatement of his position. Secondly, we also asking for a directorate to be put in place, which we've also channeled to management and as well as the chief director of the Ministry of Health. And then we also want to reiterate the fact that the results that we churn out from Kolebu is of high standard, is of good quality, and the public should believe in the results that we churn out because the central lab is accredited under the ISO system, so it's standardized worldwide. And we just want to reiterate that fact that the results that we churn out are of good quality and they should believe in us.
Okay, let me go to the General Secretary of the Medical Laboratory Scientists Association. Doug mentioned that the head of the lab scientists, central lab, was unlawfully removed. What do we mean by unlawfully removed?
All right, so over the past days, we have not had a head because management through a memoranda indicated that they are re-operationalizing the laboratory and have reassigned him and demoted him to the level of a technical coordinator. This is alien to our structure, hierarchical structure, and we see this as a deliberate attempt to satisfy a group of professionals in the hospital against the structures that regulate and govern our leadership in the lab.
The message from the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists is simple: leave us to lead our people. That's exactly their demand this morning. They feel that they are very competent enough to handle the central lab at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Reporting for Joy News, my name is Ramat Bashir.
In a few hours, Joy News will honor 12 exceptional change makers, individuals and organizations making a difference in communities across the country will be honored at the 2026 Joy News Impact Makers Awards at the Labadi Beach Hotel. The event will celebrate personalities whose work continues to transform lives and inspire change in society. Joining me in the studio is one of them. His name is Bless Lantam. He's a nurse from the Atu region who has sustained critical healthcare services in conflict-affected communities. Bless, welcome to the program. Thank you for all you do for your community. What really inspired you to continue to do what you do in those areas?
Okay, thank you for having me. My inspiration comes from knowing that these communities are vulnerable, and even in their vulnerable state, they still need quality of care. And in these difficult times, a simple intervention, support, can actually save life and then restore hope in this conflict-affected area that I serve.
Can you share the story behind why you decided to offer this help to the communities that you do?
So since I was posted there years back, there are situations. School-going children have been displaced. Mothers and children are always on the run each year within this conflict area. So I found it very necessary to go all out, provide the services for these vulnerable people.
What are some of the biggest healthcare challenges in those communities?
Currently we have security challenges, especially for the health workers. We also have inadequate health supplies, and then limited access to healthcare. And also we have delayed access to healthcare because if we don't get a military escort, we can't go out there and provide the services for the people. But what we need actually is support in transportation, support in security, and support in also providing medical supplies to us. Yes.
How long have you been working in the area?
I'm in my 5th year. Yes, I'm my 5th year.
We know that usually when health professionals, teachers, are posted to such rural communities, most of them decline. I want to believe that some of your colleagues who were posted there, some of them refused to go.
Right.
You decided to go.
Right.
And as a finalist of the Joy News Impact Makers, what message of hope would you like to give to health professionals who find themselves in your position?
I would like to tell them that they should not underestimate the small act of service they provide for the community members. They should continue to do it, and they don't need a big platform to impact lives. Whatever small service they provide for the people in the communities there, I think they should do it to impact the people that they are serving. Yeah.
And how has the response been like from the people?
In what way, please?
The people that you serve, the people that you're providing help for, how are they responding to it?
They are very happy. They are happy because there was one time a woman a woman in the community saw me in town and was like, "Oh, won't you come back again and serve us? We go there on a monthly basis to go and provide service. We don't stay there anymore." So it was like, "Why won't you come again?" I was in labor and I had to move in a rickety car. I gave birth in the car. En route to the Nkwanta Municipal Hospital to provide to receive the delivery or to deliver the baby. She delivered on the way. So assuming we were there 24/7, this wouldn't have happened. And delivering on the road, it could have been fatal both to the mother and the baby. Yes.
What inspires you to keep doing what you do?
My inspiration comes from actually seeing the real challenges these people face in accessing healthcare. Actually, what we see on TV and what we hear is not the actual thing that is going on the grounds. There are a lot of difficult challenges people are going through, and people are staying in farming communities. People are in farming communities where accessing healthcare is very difficult. So we, as the health workers in the community, have to cross rivers, walk in dense forests to go and provide services for them because they can't come. So we have to go out there and then do that for them.
Is there a particular story from that community that you heard that nearly broke you?
Yes, there are stories. how do I put it? Like going out into the farming communities, there are school-going children that have dropped out. There was a situation where I went to provide an outreach service, CWC, for some people in a community around where I work. It is called Chancellor in the Kiri sub-municipality. So when I got there, there was this student. She was in class 5, and the mother just delivered a baby, a newborn baby, and how to pull the girl out of school. Come and take care of the new baby whilst the mother, goes out to farm, and then, so the girl is no more in school. And there are a lot of children in that particular community who have never set foot in class before.
What keeps you going?
What keeps me going? I mean, it's a passion. It's a passion. And I feel like the circumstances they find themselves is not their doing. So if I've been posted there, I should do all I can to assist them. Yes.
What would you like to be remembered for?
I would like to be remembered for the service and the work I do, and I would like to leave a mark for those that will come. When I'm no more at that place, those that will come, my name will be mentioned. They will say, I did this, and they also they also work in my footprints, or even work more than I did. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Bless Lantam, thank you very much for all you do.
Okay.
I wish you all the best.
And I would like to say one last thing. Okay. This nomination, I wouldn't say it's for me personally, but then I would like to say it is for all health workers that are working in rural areas. And I believe when we are given incentives, because despite the challenges in the rural communities, we are still working. We are still going all out. So I believe we should be incentivized to boost up the morale of the work we do there. Thank you.
I wish you all the best. He's one of 12 finalists who will be honored tonight at the Labadi Beach Hotel. And the Joy News Impact Makers Awards is brought to you by McDan Foundation, empowering futures, building communities. The 10th Ghana CEO Summit and Expo, a decade of leadership impact. Water Aid Ghana, change starts with water. Labadi Beach Hotel, proudly Ghanaian, fiercely global. Ayuda, Ghana's #1 services app Bako Services Bebre. New Crystal Hospital, growing in good health. Sulas Enterprise, where quality meets affordability. Ghana Chamber of Mines, promoting environmentally and socially responsible mining. Gold Key Properties, transforming the landscape. And the event comes off at 7 p.m. this evening at the Labadi Beach Hotel. It will be hosted by Evans Mensah and Emefa Adeti. It was shown here on Joy News, Joy FM, myjoyonline.com, and across our various social media platforms. You certainly do not want to miss it. Let's take you back to the NDC's headquarters, where the party has been addressing the media ahead of this year's June 4th commemoration.
I want to thank you once more for being present here in your numbers. On behalf of the leadership of the National Democratic Congress, I warmly welcome every single one of you to this important media encounter, convened to officially announce activities marking the NDC month of June in the year 2026. The National Democratic Congress last year declared the month of June for every year the NDC month, a period that is dedicated for reflection, for remembrance, for recommitment, and for renewal of the ideals that give birth to our great party and continue to shape our collective political tradition. The observance of this year's NDC month begins today, the 15th of May 2026, a date of profound historical significance. May 15 represents an important precursor moment in the political evolution that birthed the Provisional National Defense Council in 1981, December 31st, and subsequently the National Democratic Congress on June 10, 1992. For many of us who obviously were either not born or were too young to remember all the details. On this day in 1979, a young flight lieutenant, Jerry John Rawlings, led a group of young soldiers to bring about what he believed was going to be the beginning of a rebirth for our country, a country that he believed had sunk so much into darkness that there was a need for that darkness to come to an end and for the true light of our country to begin again. Even though that uprising that started on May 15 did not succeed, exactly 20 days after that, June 4 brought about the beginning of a movement that today has led to the NDC becoming not just a formidable political party, but a true party that holds the values that will help our country not just to attain a great reset, but to reach the place where we all desire to be, a place that we can say our country has truly become great and strong. Now, after the event of May 15, the most significant thing that happened, that captured not just the imagination of all the people of Ghana, but singled out Jerry Rawlings as the man that truly had a deep aspiration for the people of Ghana, was when before his accusers, when he was being court-martialed, he had the courage, the honor, the capacity, even when facing death, to tell all the people who were accusing him that he wanted to be personally responsible for everything that happened on May 15th. So he declared the words that will forever be unforgettable. Let my people go. I alone am responsible. And that capacity for sacrifice, that capacity for personal responsibility, that ability to be honest and be courageous are the very values on which this great political party is founded. So as we mark this important day today, it's important for especially many of you who are listening to us who were much younger, who do not recall this event, to understand that the very foundation on which this great party was formed was a foundation of selflessness, of sacrifice, of courage, of honesty, and of responsibility. It is therefore fitting that we commence the national observance from today as we retrace the path of sacrifice, patriotism, personal responsibility, accountability, and social justice that has defined our political tradition. This year's theme, Strengthening State Institutions, Lessons from the June 4, 1979 Uprising, speaks directly to the current aspirations of our nation and the urgent task of national renewal. And this year's theme is simply to say that every institution of our country must have underpinning it these same values. The institutions are not meant to simply do things for themselves. The same way the individuals who occupy these institutions, whether it's the presidency or the ministerial level or the level of chief executive or the level of ambassadors or all other levels, we all must remember that the values that must define whatever we do to make this country great and strong should be the same values of sacrifice, of courage, of honesty, of personal responsibility, and the desire to put the country above ourselves. The June 4 uprising was not merely an event in history. It represented a demand for integrity in public office, a demand for accountability in governance, the need for discipline in leadership, social equity, responsible stewardship of state resources, and above all, remembering that the country and the group would always be better, greater than ourselves. And therefore, we are now occupying those positions in order to build ourselves as individuals. But we are occupying those positions first and foremost to ensure that true power is constantly returned to the people, because to the people belongs the ultimate power. Indeed, the ongoing reset agenda being pursued by the government seeks to restore confidence in public institutions, rebuild national trusts, strengthen democratic governance, deepen transparency, and reposition the state machinery to be able to serve the ordinary Ghanaian much better. The principles of probity, accountability, inclusiveness, selflessness, and people-centered governance, which form the very moral foundation of May 15 and subsequently June 4, 31st December, and the NDC itself, are therefore inseparable from the broader national reset agenda that is currently underway. Now, as we say this, it's important to explain there's not just the general public we are making an appeal to. We actually are making an appeal to the broad membership of our own party. Sadly, many of whom do not even remember some of these ideals. Many of whom today think that this party is just now a vehicle that allows us to get power. And once we get power, we think about ourselves. When this vehicle has all along been a vehicle for the empowerment of the people. Not a vehicle that becomes a cash cow for personalities. A vehicle that becomes a means where individuals think they can accumulate power and resources for themselves. But a vehicle that always will place first the party and also the country always at the forefront before thinking about our individual selves. So especially for that young generation that have joined this party, for them to understand that May 15, June 4, 31st are not simply events that we commemorate because we need to commemorate them. They're the very spirit that defines what this party is about. And that spirit is actually how this country can be transformed. It doesn't mean those days were perfect days. It doesn't mean every single thing that happened during those periods were perfect. But they actually are the foundation that we constantly must return to in order to hold ourselves accountable and to always remember that ultimate power belongs to the people. And no matter what position we find ourselves, we must never lose sight of the fact that this great movement should never be a movement for individual aggrandizement, accumulation of personal power, wanting to have everything so that we can control the party or control individuals. But always remember that we are stewards of power in order to be able to ensure the empowerment of the true people of Ghana. Now, as we commemorate this important period in our history, we also pay glowing tribute to the founder of the National Democratic Congress and the first president of the Fourth Republic under the 1992 Constitution, His Excellency President Jerry John Rawlings, or as we call him during the days of the Revolution, the champion jockey. The champion jockey. His courage, patriotism, commitment to probity and accountability, to sacrifice, to patriotism, to selflessness are immense contributions to Ghana's democratic development, and these will remain deeply etched in the history of our dear nation. President Rawlings devoted his life to the empowerment of ordinary Ghanaians, the strengthening of democratic governance, and the pursuit of true social justice. Constantly placed the people before himself. Never reached a stage where he thought it was about himself. It was always about power belongs to the people. And that is a call we make again today to every single one in the NDC, from the very top all the way to the very bottom. Let's never forget that what makes the difference is our capacity to always remember that it's not about ourselves, it is always about the people, and always placing those people at the very forefront of what we do, because the empowerment of our people is the only way this party continues to be important and relevant as far as the history of this country is concerned. His legacy continues to inspire generations within the NDC and beyond. And this year's observance provides yet another opportunity to honor his enduring vision for our beloved country. Now, throughout June, the party, in collaboration with members, traditional authorities, community leaders, youth groups, civil society actors, all the cadres of the party, and to be honest with you, every member of this party has to be a cadre of the party. Because true cadreship simply means understanding of the values and being able to stand for those values. Now, all these individuals, including patriotic, are being urged to help us to undertake a series of commemorative, educational, and patriotic activities across the country. Now, seasoned personalities, distinguished politicians, cadres, historians, and individuals with direct knowledge of or association with the aforementioned historical events will be invited to address participants and share valuable perspectives and experiences to enrich public understanding of the significance of the June 4 uprising and the evolution of the NDC tradition. On June 3, a major public lecture will be held in the Banda constituency in the Bono region, focusing on the historical impact of the June 4 uprising, the role of state institutions in making sure that we are accountable to the people and we place the people at the very forefront of everything we do, and the local significance of the event of June 4 to the people of Banda and the Bono region. On June 4 itself, there shall be a ceremonial flag raising, wreath laying, lighting of the perpetual flame, and a grand derby that will bring the people of the Bono region to the event. This will symbolize the remembrance, our national unity, and our enduring commitment to ensuring that this great movement.
That's the General Secretary of the governing NDC, Fifi Kwete, there, addressing the press a while ago. Away from that, General Officer Commanding of the Northern Command of the Ghana Armed Forces, Brigadier General Wolanyo Agbegbo, has officially launched exercise Storm Shield 2026 at Bazua in the Binduri district of the Upper East region. Well, the exercise is part of efforts to strengthen the combat readiness of security personnel against violent extremism and terrorism. Correspondent Albert Sore reports.
The two-week military exercise, organized by the Ghana Armed Forces in collaboration with the Ghana Navy and the Ghana Air Force, is being held under the theme Countering Violent Extremism and Terrorism for Sustainable Peace and Development. The exercise aims to enhance the operational capabilities of officers within the Northern and Central Command operational areas to effectively respond to emerging security threats within and beyond Ghana's borders. Addressing officers and personnel during the launch on Tuesday, General Officer Commanding GOC of the Northern Command of the Ghana Armed Forces, Brigadier General Wolanyo Agbegbo, urged troops to demonstrate professionalism, resilience, and teamwork throughout the exercise.
This exercise comes at a period when the security dynamics within the West African sub-region continue to evolve rapidly and demand a high state of operational readiness, interoperability, and professionalism from our armed forces. We are going to employ other sister security services in their role only. They may not do the military work, they will do the police work, they will do the immigration work. Everybody will be employed in his or her professional role. The exercise is specifically designed to sharpen the operational effectiveness of all participating troops.
He noted that the exercise forms part of ongoing efforts by the Ghana Armed Forces to maintain a high level of preparedness in dealing with emerging security challenges, particularly threats linked to violent extremism in the sub-region.
The growing complexity of asymmetric threats, violence, extremism, transnational organized crime, and emerging security threats, challenges within the Sahel and continuous coastal states underscore the need for continuous realistic training and mission-oriented preparations. In counterinsurgency, the battle is won as much in the mind as it is on the ground. You must understand the terrain, understand the people, and separate the guilty from the innocent with zero room for error.
Also addressing the gathering, Command Operations Officer of the Northern Command, Colonel John Kwating, admonished officers and personnel to take the training seriously in order to sharpen their operational skills and improve coordination during security operations.
This environment will teach you to adapt, and once you survive here, you will be able to thrive in conditions that may initially seem impossible. As persons in uniform, learning to be content with what is available is not a sign of yielding to poor preparation. Rather, it is a foundational skill of survival that you must develop.
Exercise Storm Shield is expected to involve a series of tactical drills, field operations, and simulation exercises designed to test and improve the readiness of security personnel in responding to terrorism-related threats while ensuring sustainable peace and development in the country. Reporting for Joy News, Albert Sori, Bazua, Binduri District.
From Binduri, let's come back to Accra, where animal welfare groups and agricultural researchers are warning that donkeys could disappear from parts of Ghana if the illegal donkey hide trade is not stopped. They say the growing demand for donkey hides is leading to the rapid killing and smuggling of the animals across borders. Advocates are now calling on government to urgently enforce stronger measures to protect the country's remaining donkey population. The following report has more.
Renewed push to save Ghana's decreasing donkey population as animal welfare advocates and agricultural researchers are demanding government implement policies to intensify efforts against illegal donkey hide trade. The campaign led by Roger Canton and the Fight Against Donkey Extinction Project reports of increasing donkey slaughter in northern Ghana. Speaking during an engagement in Accra, agricultural research scientist Roger Canton warned that the country risk losing its donkey population if urgent action is not taken. He stressed that donkeys remain essential to rural livelihoods, especially in northern communities where they are used for farming, transportation, and manure production.
The hen that lays the golden eggs, do you go and slaughter it and eat? No, you protect it. If you go to the Bolga area, the average Frafra person feels that, and the Nankani people feels that if a donkey is sick, nothing can be done about it. It's between the donkey and his God. So you don't waste your money treating it.
He urged government to implement sustainable livestock policies aimed at protecting donkeys and rural communities that depend on them.
The law already exists. It has been passed by ECOWAS and the AU. So what we are saying is that since Ghana is a member of these two bodies, it just behoves on the government to implement those laws. That is all.
For Joy News, Rakiba Mohammed and Kevin Osahine's report read to you.
Well, that's it for the pulse this afternoon. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. Right after the pulse is Beyond the Numbers with Michelle, Winston, and Isaac. Don't miss it. Have a good afternoon.
Welcome to the Ghana Business Leaders Conclave, a rare time with His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II. This exclusive forum brings together CEOs, board members, policymakers, and captains of industry for a high-level closed-door dialogue on negotiation, mediation, and ethical governance for business sustainability, alongside a rare opportunity to engage in a deeply insightful conversation with one of Africa's most influential and widely respected traditional rulers. Theme: Leading with Integrity, Navigating Mediation and Ethical Governance for Business Sustainability. In today's complex and high-stakes business environment, the ability to make sound ethical decisions under pressure is critical. Join us on Friday, 15th May 2026 at 4 p.m. at the Kofi Ohene Konadu Auditorium on the UPSA campus. For RSVP or enquiries, kindly call 024-431-1996 or 024-587-9187. Be part of this defining conversation where leadership meets legacy and the future of ethical governance is shaped. The Ghana Business Leaders Conclave, a rare time with Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II.
Cadbury hot chocolate, crafted from cocoa, milk, and sugar. Creamy, chocolatey, frothy goodness, rich taste, so satisfying.
Cadbury goodness, the treat you deserve every day.
Ghana, get ready for the ultimate athletics showdown. The African Senior Athletics Championship is coming home.
Let's go, baby!
Live at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium, Legon. Watch Africa's finest take center stage from Kenya, Nigeria, Botswana, South Africa, Zambia, and many more elite athletes from across the continent. And flying the flag high for Ghana, Benjamin Azamati and Samino Abdul Rashid. This is African excellence on full display. Don't miss it. Live at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium from May 12 to May 17, 2026. The 24th African Athletics Championship. Powered by the Ministry of Sports and Recreation, the Confederation of African Athletics, and Ghana Athletics.
Another week is here on the greatest of all time show. My name is Giovanni Clip, and tonight we're bringing you talent. Contestant number one, let's bring Baby Girl. Let's bring. He did it for you.
Cut! Oh, there is a leakage.
Where's the plumber? For quality and durability, insist on Syntex pipes. If you want quality, this be where you belong. Strong, tough, and reliable. Your perfect match to your trusted Syntex pipe. Syntex pipe, it dey carry water, no wahala. Syntex pipe, it dey make water dey flow. Syntex, and you're strong, and you're tough.
This week on the Career Trail.
The system that we got the opportunity to go through doesn't give you what Cambridge gives you. We had a discussion on who should resign as a politician, and I was supposed to resign, but I love where I am now. There are certain secrets about running your own business that people need to learn. People might say it's a man's world, but it's ruled by women. It is one thing having the idea, and another thing knowing how to make it grow. I noticed that a lot of people don't like telling the younger ones what they applied to make them succeed. But what I say is, the more you give, the more you receive.
And of course, it is the end of trading week, and we're coming to you live from our studios here in Kokomlemle, Accra. This is Joy News, and you're welcome to Ghana's leading business analysis show, Beyond the Numbers.
Of course, this is the only show dedicated to market development, bringing you updates on deals, data, and key headlines shaping your business day.
Well, Kofi, just before we came on, there was some press briefing after Ghana has successfully exited the IMF ECF program and now transitioning into the new phase. In
fact, there's a lot to be expected. We've ended the IMF program, but there will still be consultations. That's why you still have the PCI, where we are subjecting ourselves to some sort of review. The Article 4 will come in. But the most important thing, even after ending the ECF, is a big question on everybody's mind. When are we going back to the international capital market? Because this particular program was supposed to wash us off the sins of 2022 and 2023, where we ended up in restricted defaults and our bonds became junk. Now we are looking very good. We've got all the three big guys, upgrading Ghana to a very good status in a B with positive outlook almost all over the place. But you listen to the president who says that we are not rushing to the capital market. The finance minister has also made the same point. But now that the headmaster is almost out of the market or almost out of the space, what do we do with the kind of breathing space we have? Are we going to go to the market very soon? Because we know that Cocoa Board itself is coming to the market, but in the local space, we'll be raising about $1 billion US dollars in 3 tranches. And we understand the first tranche will come in July. Beyond even Ghana's IMF program, there's also a lot happening in the international space. This week, Trump was in China. He's actually still in China, I think so. But I mean, there's a lot happening on the geopolitical front, especially when it comes to oil. And in survey sense, you also are aware of the current survey done by, Deloitte on Gen Z. So there's a lot to expect on the show. But most importantly, I'm looking forward to that conversation you had with the markets women on tomatoes.
Yeah, definitely. We're looking at what constitutes the price of tomatoes every quarter or because actually every day, today you go with 5 cedis, the next day is 3 cedis. So I spoke to the market women, then they shared some sentiments. But of course, on big analysis also, we're speaking to the acting deputy
manager,
director commissioner for the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mr. Thompson, and we're looking at the development within Ghana's capital market. We're also looking at the investor confidence as well and the overall outlook when it comes to regulations. So that's a conversation we'll be having on Big Analysis.
That's a special interview that you need to stick and stay and have a look at it, because Winston actually spoke to Mr. Thompson. I'm looking forward to his comment on the virtual asset and then also the boom in the stock exchange at the moment. Currently, we know that Ghana has been ranked on a very high pedestal as far as the stock exchange is concerned. About 80% increase in terms of trade in the space. But of course, we have to focus on headlines ending the week. And let's go into our top stories. Ghana has successfully concluded its IMF Extended Credit Facility Program and is now transitioning into a non-financial technical assistance policy coordination instrument for the next 3 years. According to government, the PCI is designed to support economic reform, strengthen policy credibility, and help unlock financing from private investors and development partners. Authorities say the arrangement will complement efforts to restore macroeconomic stability and eventually secure an investment-grade rating.
Now, to the markets, Ghana's stock market is witnessing a strong rally and has emerged as one of the world's best-performing equity markets in dollar terms this year, according to Bloomberg. Now, the Ghana Stock Exchange has gained more than 80% so far this year, driven by improving investor confidence, relative currency stability, and optimism surrounding Ghana's economic recovery program.
Big gains there, Michelle. Now let's turn to the energy sector, where prices of petroleum products are expected to rise from May 16, 2026, even if government extends its current intervention program aimed at cushioning consumers from rising crude oil prices. That's according to the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies. The National Petroleum Authority is yet to announce fuel price floors for the next pricing window, which begins tomorrow.
Well, let's move away and look at some happenings in the agriculture sector. As Bloomberg has reported, citing sources familiar with the matter, says Cocoa Board will from July begin raising $1 billion through local bonds to finance cocoa bean purchases for the 2026-2027 crop season. Now, the bonds are expected to be issued in 3 tranches of roughly $330 million each. The first is expected in mid-July, followed by issuances in December and March 2027. According to the report, each tranche will be fully repaid before the next is issued. The move comes as Ghana attempts to stabilize and rebuild its cocoa sector following a reduction in producer prices earlier this year.
Well, the market is really looking forward to that bond issuance. We understand it's about $1 billion US. So come in 3 tranches, just like you put it. But now let's turn our attention to the mining sector, where Ghana Chamber of Mines has strongly pushed against a proposal by the Institute of Economic Affairs to nationalize mining assets in the country. According to the Chamber, the mining industry remains a critical pillar of Ghana and requires policy certainty, stronger regulation, and improved transparency, not nationalization. The Chamber warns that any abrupt move towards state ownership could undermine investor confidence and disrupt ongoing mining operations.
Now, to an interesting global survey, more than half of Gen Zs and millennials say they have delayed major life decisions, including starting family, pursuing further education, or launching businesses because of financial pressures. Now, that's according to the 2026 Deloitte Gen Z and Millennials survey. The report found that the cost of living remains the top concern for both groups for the 5th consecutive year. Despite this, optimism remains relatively strong, particularly among Gen Z respondents. Now, about 53% expect their personal finances to improve over the next year, compared with 45% of millennials. 5 consecutive years indeed. And finally, internationally, the U.S. Senate has approved Kevin Walsh as the chairman of the Federal Reserve. The 56-year-old lawyer and financier takes over leadership of the U.S. Federal Bank at a time when inflationary pressures continue to complicate expectations for interest rate cuts, strongly advocated by President Trump. Now, Walsh succeeds Jerome Powell, who will still be with the chair of whose term actually with the office actually ends today, although he will remain on the Federal Reserve Board. Stay with us as we bring you updates on Markets Watch, where we are bringing you that interesting conversation that you had with the markets women on tomatoes. There's a lot of mechanism in that trade. And simply if you do not understand it, sometimes you will not understand why a certain ball is expensive. But I got to understand almost everything around the trade when we decided to review the video. And in fact, if you look at some of the things the women said, many of them are actually calling for homegrown solutions. And let's go back to what we already know, the local tomatoes that we have. But there's also an understanding that there is that strong taste for the Navrongo tomato. Yes, definitely. But then one market woman also made an argument that even Navrongo tomato is also grown here in Ghana. But for some reason, we still say that we want the Navrongo grown elsewhere.
Navrongo is in Ghana.
It's in Ghana. and that frustrates them sometimes. And another concern was that a can of tomato, when they arrange it into a can, she could sell it for 80 cedis. But now market is very slow to the extent that she has to now cast down from 80, bargain to 70, and then to 60. Others even say they sell it for 50 cedis, just so that it could go. Because the more it stays with them in the store, it may get spoiled.
Well, so that interesting conversation coming up shortly on the show right after this short break.
Hey, welcome back and many thanks for staying with us. But we're heading to Markets Watch today, and today we took a look at a close walk through the tomato market, engaging traders directly to get a real-time lead on how activities are shaping up. So from price movements to demand patterns and overall sentiments, we've gathered first-hand insights on what's driving the market so far. There's more in this report.
On Markets Watch today, we step beyond the data and into the market to understand what's really driving tomato prices. From supply shortages to rising transport costs, traders here say the story goes far deeper than the numbers.
Feel the glow.
Ghana consumes approximately 800,000 metric tons of tomatoes every year. But here's the problem. We only produce about 300,000 to 400,000 metric tons locally. And so about 90% of what we consume is imported from neighboring Burkina Faso, meaning we do not grow enough to feed ourselves here in the country. And here's a problem. Whenever there are extremisms in the Sahel, then the lives of traders who go to carry those tomatoes into the country are threatened. Now, the Agric Minister says that the long-term solution for Ghana's tomato price instability lies in boosting local production. Now, today we're here at Malata Market to speak to the traders.
The flame is rising.
Prices na akosoro kakra because of Burkina issues na ebaye no akosoro kakra.
The prices are up in recent times due to the Burkina Faso issues. We used to buy tomatoes around 2,500 Ghana cedis and 3,000 Ghana cedis. But now, it's been increased to 3,500 cedis. Market today is slow, but on a normal day, I just can't complain. We sell a can of tomato for 70 cedis, but due to bad market, we sell them now for 60 cedis so that it can move fast.
Okay. Any konko
70 Ghana.
Kanino nanke yesi?
80 Ghana.
That's just abafem.
Abafem.
Sometimes we can about to do it.
When a lot of cars come, we get to buy on good prices. But when few cars come with the loads, the prices go up because people leave different areas to come struggle for the tomatoes to sell. So the prices vary. No matter how hard it gets, everyone gets their share. Market isn't too bad.
Okay, tomatoes is
Lately, market prices have changed. Sometimes the prices go up and sometimes they come down. When the rains begin, the tomato starts to get rotten. Before we used to get at least 6 or 5 bags, but now 2 to 3. And how? It's all time and on reports that the prices are high. And it's not our fault because if you go to carry them at higher cost, you need to sell in a way that you can make some profits.
Fine, but this one
Beyond the usual demand and supply factors, traders here point to a growing concern, instability in key supply countries like Burkina Faso and Mali. These countries are major sources of tomatoes in Ghana, especially during lean seasons. But recent security challenges are beginning to disrupt that supply chain, ultimately pushing prices higher in local markets.
The traders don't understand the language of the place they are going to, so the one who liaises for them as an interpreter can tell them the price is 3 cedis when it may actually be 2 cedis.
And
they sometimes get attacked on the road. They go through a lot and it takes them about 5 days on road, so they can't come and sell them.
And so when
we grow our own, consumers must buy and stop complaining about not liking the local. They must stop the Navrongo and purchase the locally grown tomatoes so that we can grow more.
God who created us knows what's good for us, but due to over-civilization, we reject what is made for us. The juice in the local tomatoes helps us to heal wounds, yet we say we don't like them. I believe when we consume the local ones, all these organ failures will be managed.
The locally grown ones we received last year were really good. So if the government can help so we can grow more, it will be good.
What this means is that tomato prices are no longer just a local market issue. They are increasingly tied to regional security and trade stability. When transport routes become unsafe or disrupted, supply reduces, costs rise, and the effects are quickly felt by both traders and consumers here in Ghana. Well, wrapping it up, the traders had some words for the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
Ghana, you bet me a I've said to me, do you cram a bisu Burkina Faso? June, July, August, Omoba Beto. Now, and problem, they say, me many free, na ye want to say a local. And only you do your memoir, na Burkina Faso. At least, and your cramatra about 40 years.
I believe we grow enough tomatoes locally, and some are even exported to Burkina during second and third quarter of the year. But the problem is that, growing up, we had locally grown tomatoes in the country, and there was nothing like Burkina. I have been here for at least 40 years. My mother started this business, and there was nothing like Burkina. At some point, chemicals used on the lands destroyed all the nutrients, and we couldn't grow them here anymore. And that's why traders began importing them from Burkina.
And now, since the Udia was why Bedu Babin enough, Ajinsem, and no Nema Burkina, Edibaswa.
If government can do something about it, I would be glad, and we also must eat what we grow. Galamsey is also a major cause. Potable water to grow the plants is now a problem.
Into Mudia, any year. Trensu started to say, a Greek minister, and so massive.
I plead with our Greek minister to support the local tomato farmers.
Fadriantos, my year. And the young couple close here, the uncle Fantos, be a fan baby.
Dams must be provided for the farmers along the riversides like those in Ada so they can produce more.
So while the numbers may show price increases, the reality on the ground tells a more complex story, one shaped by supply chains, imports, and everyday market pressures.
That's a Friday mood. I like that.
A Friday tomato mood.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, tomorrow is market day at Malata Market. So, yeah, it's a good way to dance anyway.
I see very interesting conversation there. And in fact, the women really understand the trade, right? Yeah. And then clearly they are able to tell you what they want to be solved. And I picked a lot from that interview, especially looking at the language barrier and how that is a margin on its own on the price. And many of the women spoke about how we even transitioned from depending on our own tomatoes to now importing from Burkina Faso. And many are saying that, well, if the government could step in and provide the needed, support, they think that we can actually do this production in the country.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. Now, another issue that was raised by the women is also the issue of galamsey destroying the lands, and now it's not fertile enough to grow tomatoes. But then again, there was one tomato seller who also said that she believes that we could also take advantage of the rivers around Ada. If we're able to create some dams as well, we can be able to grow enough than we already grow here. But yeah, I also understand around this time, it's quite difficult to actually get tomatoes in Burkina.
Exactly, because this is the lean season for Burkina. So sort of one woman also said that at the time there are some
they also
come here to actually do them. But if you do the nets, we import from them more than they import from us. And so that was a very interesting discussion there coming from the Malata market, trying to put into proper perspective the tomato trade and the market. But definitely from Market Watch, we move to big analysis where we are speaking to the acting Deputy Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mensa Thompson, and he spoke to Winston Taki, breaking down what we should expect when it comes to the what I'm looking forward to, which is the virtual assets, and then also the stock exchange, which is booming. So it won't take much time. I want you to enjoy that conversation that Winston had with Mr. Thompson. And that will be all for Big Analysis and Beyond the Numbers. Right after we are done with this, interview that we had with Mr. Thompson.
As Ghana enters a digital asset, virtual asset, digital finance space, there's been a whole trajectory of transforming and revolutionizing our financing space. And this time, the key regulator of that is the Securities and Exchange Commission has been fronting that whole space, ensuring regulation, stability, and cyber-related activities are monitored consistently to protect investor interests. And for that reason, I'm privileged to be seated with me to speak into this conversation, the Acting Deputy Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission in the person of Mr. Thompson. And we're going to go straight to the conversation. But first of all, I want to understand from him, if we assess the function of the Securities and Exchange Commission, possibly someone watching us for the first time would like to understand what they do, the areas they cover, because with that being said, people can know where to locate or let's say address their grievances, especially any matter related to finance. And this is where we start. It's good to have you with us, Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Good to have you, Winston. You're doing well.
Awesome. Look at sharp.
Thanks.
Very necessary. Yeah. Now, I want to begin, first of all, when we say Securities and Exchange Commission, how or what does it entail in terms of your regulatory functions?
Well, thank you very much. The SEC is one of the regulators in the financial sector. Yeah. And so if you take our entire financial system, there are 4 key regulators. We have the central bank, who regulates banking on their prudential activities and also set monetary policy, banker for government. Then we have the SEC, which is the regulator of the capital market. You have the NIC, which regulates insurance, and PRA handles pensions. The SEC perhaps have one of the widest mandates in the financial sector, because some of our activities even overlaps or overruns into areas of banking. And so we have banks that are our licensees. And so we license all banks, especially on their custody and trustee businesses. We license and regulate that activity. Even though they will get their license from the central bank, but if they want to do anything trustee or custody, they have to get a license from us. Our primary job is to ensure the efficient function of the securities market. And so we have the equities market, which is a stock exchange, where equities are traded. And before equities are traded, it means companies have to list. And before they list, it means we have to go through an IPO process. So all those approvals come to us. So we review your prospectus, and when we approve it, you can go to the market and raise money or list on the exchange. So regulate the stock exchange. Again, the second aspect of the exchange is the GIFM, what we call the Ghana Fixed Income Market, where bonds and other papers are traded. We also regulate that activity, and we approve the bond programs apart from government bonds. We approve all other bonds, corporate and other bond programs before they are traded on the GIFM. We also have the GACs, the alternative market, mainly an OTC market, where companies that are not public, that are not really, that do not have a certain capacities but want to be able to float shares to the public, are also traded on the alternative market. Then we have the commodities market, which is the GCS, the Ghana Commodities Exchange. We also regulate the activities. We license and regulate them as well. So that's where commodities are also traded. Then we have the CSD, the Central Securities Depository. And they are the registrar and custodians for most of securities that are traded on the stock exchange. We regulate the activities of the CSD as well. Then that means that all public listed companies are our licensees. We have the asset management companies. We license and regulate the people who manages people's funds, wealth management and what have you. Then you have brokers. The brokers are the people who assist people to buy stocks or bonds or whatever securities that they want to buy from the market. We license and regulate the brokers, the dealers, the BMS, the bond market specialists, as well and all that. So we regulate the activities of that. Before you come to, the virtual assets services, which was recently passed by Parliament. Also, we have 8 licenses under that. The exchange and trading platform, ETFs, the brokerage, tokenization.
We'll come to the virtual asset space. It looks like the function of SEC covers a whole range in the financial space, and your role critically is essential. One thing that is quite interesting is basically understanding what has happened in the last 2 years, basically a year and a half. We've seen great activity in the Ghana Stock Exchange. From a regulatory point of view, what has changed? Because people wonder, has there been flexibility? Has there been new reforms? What has the Securities and Exchange Commission been doing to that effect?
Well, when we went through the debt exchange program, or what we mainly refer to as the DDEP, it affects the market greatly, both the equity side and the fixed income side. The fixed income side was the hardest hit, because that's where most of the restructuring happened. But because the capital market is interlinked and liquidity flows from one sector of the market to the other, we had the stock market also impacted significantly as well. Again, there were no new listings, and so you saw that the market was saturated. Just a few equities that were moving around within the market. So since MTN went public in 2019, that was the last IPO we had before 2025. And so that means that once there are no new listings, that means it's just the same old security that are moving around, and it's not something that's helps with liquidity and interest in the market, and also it generally creates lack of activity on the market. And so when we took over, we saw this challenge critically, and we realized that we needed to get to work and see how we can resolve, one, the liquidity issues within the market, two, to create these alternative listings that will also improve activity on the market, but most significantly, to give investors that confidence to be able to participate in securities. And we realized that one of the problems we've had was, direct market access. People, really don't understand the sector that much. We have a serious, information problem. There's a lot of lack of public education within the market. So what we did was to just, begin to slowly implement some reforms. And so even at the financial stability level, we've been working with a number of the banks to get them listed. So we have a program. And that's why you've seen a lot of banks listing. We did the Car Bank last year. We did the First Atlantic Bank last year. And a few ones that are also coming up very soon. So
what is basically pulling the banks into the stock market? Because for some time they've been hesitant to list. And people are wondering how can they partner the banks in ensuring some of them expand their operations and also invest in several aspects of their business.
So it's a deliberate program by government. And I don't know if you've heard His Excellency the President have said a number of times on letting Ghanaians own the Ghanaian economy. We have a lot of foreign banks within our market who make a lot of money within our system. And every year they repatriate huge amount of these profits. Now, by getting these banks to offload part of their interest to Ghanaians, what happens is that every year, once they make profit, they have to pay dividend to Ghanaians. And so you get part of the money to stay here and to stick within the Ghanaians. That helps the economy also to grow. And so it's a deliberate program that we work, between the SEC and the Bank of Ghana and then the Ghana Stock Exchange. We have a committee at the highest, chaired by the governor of the central bank, that we are working together with the banks to get a lot of them to list. And the benefits of listing is enormous, and we've made them understand that, it improves your corporate governance, it improves your the integrity of your company, it improves transparency, and it makes, it strengthens the organization, because now everything that you're doing, you have to do in connection with the rules of a publicly listed company. You cannot do anything just anyhow. And so that is why even at the government level, government has taxed us. So we are currently working with SIGA to even get some of the state-owned enterprises that have been recording losses, year on year, to get some of these state-owned enterprises to also list on the stock exchange to improve transparency and accountability within these markets.
It's interesting SIGA, because sometimes people wonder if you go through the annual reports that are being released year upon year, it's as if individuals are working on the same organization, but year on year, there's a deliberate consciousness of ensuring that they arrive at a loss.
Yeah.
What has been lacking in the overall turnaround of such institutions, and what difference will it make if they are to be listed, basically?
Corporate governance. You see, the rules for a public listed company is enormous. We sit here every year. Public listed companies have reports that they submit to us. They have corporate governance structures and rules they must follow strictly. Once you offload shares or list shares, and the public acquire those shares, they become members of the company. Now, in company law, they are the highest decision-making body of the organization. So you cannot sit as a CEO and take reckless decisions that will undermine the integrity of the company. You have to go through different levels of approval with the members or the shareholders on top, with the board, number 2, before even executive management, and come down to the bottom. And so it improves transparency, and because public listed companies are forced by the rules to open up their books, to publish their financial statements, and to even the nature of how you do your procurement will have to change. It must conform to certain standards. If you're a public listed company, you cannot get up and clearly do anything that you want. And so this is why you see that when companies list, it's very difficult for a public listed company to collapse. Because it takes, if an entrepreneur offloads his part of his company shares to the public, he doesn't own the company again. Okay? And so the rules, he might be the majority shareholder and still takes good decisions, but he's subject to strict rules of transparency and accountability to the extent that he can't do anything just anyhow. And that is what we want to transfer to these government agencies that are recording severe losses year on year. And we hope that once we bring them onto the market, to improve transparency,
you
to
have
improve
specific
accountability.
companies that you are considering now, and how long are we to see?
No, the president has given us a list, and I think we started. I think the plan is to start with the SOEs in the petroleum sector, and then gradually move to other areas. So what we are currently doing is assessing the books of these companies. We are working with SIGA to assess the books of these companies to see their economic viability, and then how even the listing will be structured, because you still want government to maintain significant control in these companies. And so, we need to decide on how much shares of these companies have to be listed. We need to decide on the extent of valuation, the value of these companies, and other things before you can even come at a decision as to how the listings are going to be done. And so, but we're still working on that, and it's something that His Excellency the President really wants us to work towards to achieve. That, coupled with the activities on the market, the stability of the macroeconomic front has also helped. Inflation is at all-time low. The government treasuries are currently between 4 to 6%, the lowest we've seen in decades. And exchange rate is currently around between 11 and 12. So what that means is that the money market instruments are largely unattractive, including government treasuries. And so now you have a lot of liquidity sitting with the banks, a lot of liquidity sitting with the asset management companies, a lot of liquidity from the pensions that are all trying to find, alternative investments to government treasuries. And so we've seen a lot of activity back now at the equity side and the fixed income side, and we expect that the activity is going to continue to grow because we still have a lot of liquidity coming up in the system. There's different other holders of liquidity who are also looking for various products to put money in.
Now, as you mentioned, very interesting accessibility, especially when it comes to the frontiers of liquidity. There's so much money in the system now. One will ask in terms of people investing in different kind of instruments, what is the protectionist structure that SEC has been working on for quite some time now to ensure compliance? Unlike some years back, we had issues with a lot of investors complaining that their assets, their investment have been locked up. What is SEC doing different this time around?
So, like I said, so a lot of these, so we must situate the challenges within the capital market in the right context. We had the first, the significant collapse of asset management companies happened, I think, in 2019. Okay, when a lot of them, most of them were legacy issues. But a number of those issues stem from the closure of the banks in 2018. Because these asset management companies were also offloading their liabilities to some of the banks and savings and loans. And so currently, if you look at the books, you see that a lot of the collapsed asset management companies have a lot of exposure to savings and loans companies and the collapsed banks. Okay, so it flowed from there. And so when they were collapsed, now they were also now depending on the receiver at a central bank or appointed by the central bank for the collapse of the banks to now settle the indebtedness to these asset management companies so they can also pay their customers. Okay, that coupled with other companies like Black-Scholes that has their own issues. But if you take those issues out of context, we have very strict rules for asset management companies, very, very strict rules. And so you can't take people's company and do whatever you want. We have regular placement reports that they submit to us. The placement report tells us where they put this money in. So for example, if you have AUM of 100 million, you need to report to SEC where those AUMs have been placed. If you've bought equities, how much? If you bought government treasuries, how much? If you invested in foreign securities, how much? We have visibility over all that. So I think that those issues might be situated in context. It was a problem that knocked us out through the collapse of the banks. What we are doing going forward is to strengthen the internal mechanisms and the compliance of these companies to make sure that they follow the rules. We continue to do proper inspections, and so we'll go on site to do inspections to ensure that these companies are keeping their books and they are doing the things that for which we've given them license to do. And so we're doing a number of these things to strengthen that. We continue to also caution the public that before you invest in any security or instrument, please reach out to the SEC and contact us and let us understand that you've seen this product or this company, you want to invest in it. Are they licensed? Is their product licensed? Because sometimes an entity may be licensed, but the activity that they are promoting or advertising may not be a licensed activity. And so you need to reach out to us so that we can give you adequate information on whether a company is...
Don't they run their product by you before putting it on the market?
So that's why I say that sometimes some companies flout those rules. Sometimes we've given them a license perhaps to be a broker, but they advertise a fund. A broker cannot manage funds. When we see that, we penalize them. And it's, your license can even be withdrawn if we see you do that. What we see most often are people we don't even know, are not even our licensee, concocting fraudulent schemes and putting that in the public domain. And we continue to caution the public. And that's why we say that even before you invest, don't invest in anything which you do not know who the people behind are. The first sign of a fraudulent investment is faceless people. when you cannot point that it is Winston or who or this person that is behind this company. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that information, don't invest. Again, if they are promising you ridiculous returns, so for example, currently, T-bill rates at about 6%. Banks are lending between 12 and 15%. If anybody comes to you with any security and promising you 20% returns, that person is a criminal, is a thief. So if you understand these things, you see the red flags right from the beginning. So you continue to educate the market, so that they can be able to watch out for these red flags. But most importantly, reach out to us, and we can confirm for you whether the company or the product you want to invest in is licensed or not.
You've ventured a different space in terms of the overall regulation, which began in 2025 about starting the framework for virtual assets. We know globally that has been a new dimension in terms of financial and finance, basically. In 2026, basically, you started a sandbox for some of them. Why do you believe Ghana is now getting there, and do we have the structures to manage and regulate that space, considering how enormous the blockchain structure is?
I mean, the virtual asset space is one of the areas that we've seen a lot of interest.
Yeah.
And it all started when early last year we did some research. We got some data from Analyst. Mm-hmm. And we realized that over $10 billion worth of transactions has happened within the virtual asset space.
Within Ghana?
Within a year.
Within
Ghana. $10 billion. Mm-hmm. We went to the IMF looking for $3 billion. $10 billion worth of transactions on the blockchain, mm-hmm, from Ghana, in and out of Ghana. We did not have visibility. We regulators did not have visibility over it. Tax authorities don't have visibility over it, and we realized that this posed a significant risk to financial stability. So it was important that we quickly work together to put it in a framework. So we worked together with the central bank to come up with the Virtual Asset Service Providers Act, took it to Parliament, went to defend it in Parliament. Parliament approved it, and it was signed into law by the President on the 24th December 2025, with Ghana being the third country in Africa to have a virtual asset service providers law. The only two countries ahead of us was South Africa and Kenya, who passed their law just a few weeks before us. So this year, we quickly had to go into operationalization of the act, and we decided to start slowly and making sure that we are able to capture all the risk areas, address the risks that are within the space before we quickly deploy. Mm-hmm. And so we launched the sandbox approach. Mm-hmm. And the sole purpose of the sandbox was to put these companies into a restricted environment, a live testing environment, where we can put restrictions and limitations over the activities, mm-hmm, have direct visibility over the activities, and be able to see how the products they're going to deploy into the market affects the traditional financial systems, how it impacts on other securities, how it impacts on banking, how it impacts on the entire financial sector. And so that's what we've done. So we launched our sandbox with 11 companies, mm-hmm, which we've put in a sandbox. And a lot of activities are currently ongoing. We are beginning the onboarding very soon. We are working with an international company that provides surveillance systems for virtual assets in Dubai, in London, and elsewhere. Now, what they are doing is to help us with the structures to be able to have visibility over every crypto transaction that happens within the borders of Ghana. And we, right from our control room here, we'll be able to see these transactions. We have restrictions on AML and CFT reporting. We have standards that we've said they must stick to those AML and CFT standards. We have other standards such as limitations on the type of transactions, quantity, volumes, and value of transactions. We'll put all that. We have PEPS standards, politically exposed persons and other individuals, standards that they must use to screen these transactions. We have KYC standards, which these service providers.
So you mean with all these standards, it will not beat any strategies used by money laundering operators?
No, so the standards are there.
Yes.
So, for example, basic KYC standards. The rule is that before you onboard a client, you must complete basic KYC for the client. Okay, and KYC collects basic primary data from the client. And we have the FATF rule. The FATF travel rule requires that, entities must report on transactions, so the originator of the transaction and the recipient of the transaction. The FATF travel rule requires that the VASP keeps these two data one on the originator and two data on the recipient. And so when money moves, we have visibility over where it is moving, and when it gets to the recipient, we have visibility over who is receiving it. And based on that, we can now internally do the screening and see whether this person is a PEPS, this person is whether there are AML CFT issues or risks. Some accounts, has been...
Maybe using technical words. Someone will be wondering AFC. So in simple terms, what does it mean?
So AML is anti-money laundering.
Yeah.
CFT is counter-terrorism financing. Okay. And so we have standards on anti-money laundering.
Yeah.
And one of the ways people try to launder money is, placement. So they place the money into the system, because money laundering is basically when you have access to money through unlawful or illegitimate means, and you trying to find ways to put it into the financial system. Okay. And so once we have information on the originator, the originator account, the information is there. We have the basic KYC information of the originator. We have the KYC of the recipient. It's able to tell, okay, you're able to trace the funds from both end to end. You understand? And that's very, very important for us. There's another activity called the on-ramping and the off-ramping. So, for example, if you hold a digital asset on a blockchain or on a wallet, you have to move the money. You can't buy money, you can't buy food, clothes, or anything with crypto. You have to convert it to fiat. Okay, so now, and if you have money and you want to buy virtual asset, you have to convert the money to to crypto or to virtual assets. So you give the money to a service provider, then the service provider now will credit your wallet with a virtual asset. Okay, so the process through which the money moves from fiat onto the virtual asset platform or the crypto platform is called the on-ramp. And the process through which the money moves from the exchange or from the virtual asset space onto your mobile money wallet or your bank account or into the physical cash fiat is called the off-ramp. You need to have visibility over that. It's also another layer that provides a very critical, because at the end of the day, that's where the money is going to be used. Okay? So how the money moves through this cycle up onto the on-ramp, you must have visibility. So we have end-to-end visibility. You have visibility over the exchange on the recipient. You have visibility over how the money moves onto the exchange. You have visibility over how the money moves from the exchange into the recipient account.
The sandbox that you are having, you have some of the companies which you are observing their innovations and how they are playing in the system. From your assessment, what are some of the weaknesses you identified, and what successes will you say you've discovered so far?
So our sandbox activities are yet to begin. Okay, so that, like I said, we're doing the onboarding this week, and then from next week we'll start operation. The virtual asset space is not a new space. It's not a new space. It's a space that have grown even now. To people have done it over and over again. The key risks are on fraud, AML CFT, cybersecurity risks, and then and then maybe improper or weak monitoring, weak monitoring. But like I told you, we have all these places covered. We are deploying a surveillance system. And so we have the capacity to even block transactions. So, for example, if money moves, a certain amount of money moves from one account quickly to another, and it's live visibility. So quickly we can flag that transaction and block it midway before even the money gets to the recipient's wallet or or get moved on to another exchange, or the money is converted to fiat. We can block that transaction, and so we'll be able to, manage the fraudulent issues. So, for example, if we have reasonable grounds that a transaction may be suspicious, we can block it and investigate. And only after we are satisfied that it's not a fraudulent transaction, before we allow the transaction to go through, so that you're able to stop that. As part of the white papers that the VASP submitted to us, we've asked them for a robust cybersecurity framework, which will require that we'll do periodic penetration testing for these VASPs to ensure that their systems are robust. Okay, the good thing about blockchain is that it's a worldwide ledger. Okay, it's not like other things where somebody can amend it. Blockchain is worldwide ledger where everybody around the world, depending on where you are, has visibility over who is sending what and who holds what and what have you. That's the good news. Now, the other risk we are trying to address within the market is public education, for people to understand what really is virtual asset. And we are trying to use the mobile money example to demonstrate people to them. What are their risks? There are stable coins and there are meme coins. So you have two types of virtual assets. One is a stable coin, which is, for example, is fiat backed. So, for example, USDT or USDC is backed by the US dollar. So if you have one stable, if you have one stable coin or one USDT is equal to $1 US. Okay. And that one, when you put your money in it, the value of the money doesn't change. Your value changes only when the value of dollar goes up or goes down. But we have other meme coins, such as the Bitcoins and what have you, that are backed by just speculation, nothing. And so that one, you can put the money in, and based on speculation, it can go up to, one Bitcoin can go up to $90,000 or $100,000. But it can also fall up to, a point where you lose your money. Getting the people to distinguish between what are stable coins and what are non-stable coins.
Kindly be seated. Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is my singular honor to welcome you all to our maiden Ghana Business Leadership Conclave, the first of its kind, convened under Otumfuo Osei II, Akufo-Addo, Obake, Wezolo, to all of you, a warm welcome. We will set some ground rules, and I will plead with you to turn your phones on silence. And I say that because I know you will turn it off eventually. So kindly turn it off, whether on flight mode, silent, so we don't disrupt each other. Thank you very much. Your Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei II, Asantehene, our foremost alumnus, Akufo-Addo, the Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies, Dr. KK Sapong, Your Royal Majesty, Drolo Boso Adamate II, ambassadors and high commissioners of foreign embassies, the Inspector General of Police, the Chairman of the UPSA Governing Council, Dr. Harry Lawson Agbanu, our distinguished members of the Governing Council present, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies, Professor Kweku Mensah-Maucho, our former Vice Chancellor and Chairman of the GCV Board, Professor Joshua Alabi, former Registrars of UPSA, Nananom, Nime, Name, Queen Mothers present, representatives of the clergy and the faith communities here, captains of industry and distinguished business leaders, representatives of academia present, members of faculty, representatives of the media, students, members of the 60th Anniversary Planning Committee present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome. My grandfather told me that the most important thing in business is to get people's attention. So I would plead with you, I would negotiate with you this afternoon for your attention. We gathered this evening under the theme, Leading with Integrity, Navigating Negotiations, Mediations, and Ethical Governance for Business Sustainability. We have had a closed-door meeting where we dialogued with the Otumfuo and words like fairness, integrity, accountability, and a lot more. And these are the vexed matters we seek to discuss this evening. And so, wherever there are weightier matters to be discussed, we call on the Almighty first, And so I will call on the university chaplain, Reverend Tete, to usher us into the presence of God. So let's welcome him.
Shall we please bow down our heads for a word of prayer? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you this evening. We thank you for bringing us together for such a great day like this. We thank you for the life of His Royal Majesty Otumfuo. We thank you for his leadership. We thank you for the life of the leadership of this great university. We pray, oh God, that you will lead us in this great meeting. And when all is said and done, we'll lift up our eyes unto you and we'll say, oh God, Yahweh, you've done it again. We thank you in the name of God the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend. Whenever there's an event, there's definitely a host. And so the host will set the tone for why we are here and our discussion. And for that reason, I want us to welcome our Vice Chancellor, Professor Akufo-Addo, to give us the welcome remarks. Let's welcome him.
Thank you, Director of Public Affairs. Your Royal Majesty, Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II, Asante-Hene, and my father. Our Chancellor, Chairman of Council, fellow Council members, former Chancellors, former Chairman of Council, our former Vice Chancellors, Professor Alabi here present, and other Vice Chancellors here present, Pro-Vice Chancellors, former Pro-Vice Chancellors, a hard-working registrar, former Director of Finance here present, Reverend Entry, our former registrar, Professor Koyo, in him right, deans and directors, heads of departments, our cherished CEOs of various institutions, Nime, Name, Mama Vio, Togbio, our cherished students, our cherished alumni, friends from the media, our honorable guests, distinguished captains of industry, colleagues from academia, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Chancellor and the Chairman of Council, I warmly welcome you to our maiden Ghana Business Leaders Conclave. Indeed, when we launched our year-long UPSA at 60 celebration last August, we marked our remarkable journey by reflecting deeply on the leadership of our nation and in the future, the various demands that is ethical, credible, and skilled at forging peace amid complexity. And I always cherish this moment, especially during a visit to wish Your Royal Majesty well. We shared our vision for this business conclave with His Royal Majesty. And this day, you graciously accepted and expressed eagerness to share nuggets of wisdom on negotiation, mediation, and governance. Today, we are here gathered in that very spirit made possible by our main sponsor this day, that is GCB PLC. Please, let's acknowledge the contribution of this company. We are deeply grateful to the management and board of GCB PLC, especially the board chairman, Professor Joshua Alabi, our first Vice Chancellor. My boss. Our esteemed former Vice Chancellor for their visionary, and also for the former Vice Chancellors for their visionary support, embodying the leadership we celebrate today. Your Royal Majesty, we are profoundly honored by your presence and your gracious acceptance to convene this conclave. Just as the rich kente cloth weaves intricate patterns of gold, crimson, and black, symbolizing wisdom, unity, and resilience, your leadership in Ghana and beyond embodies a rare mastery, calming conflicts rather than igniting them, anchoring decisions in unyielding principle over fleeting advantages, embracing negotiation as wisdom, not weakness, and mediation as a disciplined path to enduring outcomes. His Royal Majesty. The Ghana Business Leadership Conclave, originally conceived as a platform for chief executives and captains of industry, unfold this year in two vital paths: a closed-door dialogue with industry leaders, which we just finished a few minutes ago, and a public lecture for our wider community. Both advance one purpose: deepening our national discourse on leading with integrity through negotiation, mediation, and ethical governance for sustainable businesses. Importantly, Nana, this conclave also seeks to shape a new national agenda, building indigenous Ghanaian enterprises that can outlive their founders and endure across generations. Across the world, the most transformative economies have been sustained not merely by successful entrepreneurs, but by institutions and companies that have survived well beyond the lifespan of their original owners. Companies such as Toyota, founded in 1937 and still thriving nearly 90 years later. Ford Motor Company, established in 1903 and operating for over 120 years after its founder, Henry Ford. Siemens, founded in 1847 and enjoying for almost 180 years. Mitsubishi Corporation, whose origins date back to 1870, giving it more than 150 years of continuous existence. And Tata Group, founded in 1868 and operating successfully for over 150 years, demonstrates that enduring prosperity comes from strong institutions rather than individual personalities. Many of these companies have long outlived their founders because they intentionally built systems of governance, succession planning, professional management, innovation, and institutional continuity. For Ghana and Africa, to achieve sustainable economic transformation, we must nurture indigenous enterprises that transcends personalities and become enduring national institutions. Our challenge, therefore, Nana, is not merely to establish businesses, but to build legacies that will serve generations yet unborn. Nana, in my own observation, the longest serving institution in our part of the world is chieftaincy institutions. There's something within this institution companies must learn. Indeed, it is rare to find a Ghanaian company outliving its founder in our part of the world. Just this Monday, Uncle Lebo, who shares his morning wisdom with the nation, strive to conduct a rigorous research whether we have any third generation Ghanaian company, and the answer is no. But when I sat back, the answer is yes, because in our part of the world, it's always difficult to document what we have. The difference is documentation and sustainability of our institutions. Your Royal Majesty, with your gracious blessings, we humbly envision the Ghana Business Leaders Conclave becoming an annual gathering for chief executives, young leaders who have just established businesses, policymakers and captains of industry across Africa, convening at your feet to draw on your wisdom. This platform is where threads of ancestral wisdom interwaves bold innovations, timely mediations with strategic governance. Let this be our shared legacy, inspiring leaders continent-wide to weave enduring prosperity. To our distinguished business leaders, thank you for answering this call. And to our students, alumni, leadership transcends ambition. Indeed, it's a character forged under pressure, as enduring as Kente's timeless weave. Nana, we thank you this day. But once again, thank you. Please help me express my profound gratitude to Your Royal Majesty, Otumfuo. We welcome you. May your presence today back to your alma mater, which I pride so much wherever I go to, inspire Ghana's leadership, present and then future, to choose the higher path, treading wisdom into every decision. Before I conclude, Nana, permit me to acknowledge the contribution of the 60th year anniversary group, the leadership, Mr. Kwabena Ejekum, Mr. Francis Dazi, and the others. Patricia Kobia, thank you so much. I can't mention you all, but you've done so much. At UPSA, we always proud ourselves as a public university, but with a private mindset. So when I launched this committee last year, August, I told them, the university has no money for you. And I'm here today present, acknowledging the contribution of those wonderful men and women who have raised almost 1 million cedis to make this thing happen. Once again, thank you so much. And I'm also deeply honored to appreciate the advice our first Vice Chancellor always shares with us, that you do the work, I take the honor. They've done it, I am taking the honor. With deep respect, on this day, on behalf of the Chancellor, I declare the Ghana Business Leaders Conclave duly open. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Mauto, for the most befitting words of welcome. We give you the honor. We will do the work. I would like to welcome the Chancellor of our dear university, Dr. K.K. Sapong, to give us the opening remarks. Let's welcome him.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Abaloko. Your Royal Majesty, Akufo-Addo II, the Asante Hene. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I crave your indulgence to stand on protocols already established. Secondly, I have a privilege to be here because I'm the Chancellor. And I wish to thank the organizers for the wonderful job done. Business leaders undertake negotiations, mediations, and uphold best governance practices towards ensuring the viability and survival of the entities they lead. Efficient delivery of these tasks hinges on integrity. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, nations are built on the integrity of their institutions, and institutions are sustained by the integrity of their leaders. In the business world, and there's no doubt about this, sustainable enterprises depend on principled leadership, which is a goal shared by all of us gathered in this business conclave. It is important, therefore, that we lead with integrity. Against this backdrop, the theme for this session, or for this celebration, quote, leading with integrity, negotiations, mediation, and ethical governance for business sustainability is very appropriate. I have no doubt that the business leaders gathered here have sterling credentials in leadership. By sharing our experiences and insights, we can further enrich one another and strengthen our capacity for excellence. As Maya Angelou said, and I quote, "When you learn, teach. When you get, give," unquote. Her words underscore the importance of sharing knowledge and experiences with others. It is this very spirit that animates this business leaders conclave, which offers a unique opportunity to engage on how integrity-driven leadership can foster sustainable businesses. It is a particular honor that His Royal Majesty Akufo-Addo II, Asante Hene, leads this important high-level dialogue. His Majesty's decades of stewardship, marked with Solomonic wisdom, principled negotiation, skillful mediation, and progressive traditional governance, embody precisely the standards that this business leadership conclave aspires to uphold. We could not have been blessed with a better person to do this honor for us. Indeed, it is a rare privilege for all of us gathered here to have the benefit of learning from the wisdom and leadership of His Royal Majesty. As tradition demands, even though it's a dialogue, we cannot ask His Majesty questions. All the questions you want to ask are already embodied in the speech that you deliver. And therefore, all that I will say at this stage as I leave the podium is that listen carefully. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our dear Chancellor. I would like to acknowledge our sponsors who have made this program possible. GCB Bank. We couldn't have pulled this off without you. We see you and we acknowledge your presence here. Thank you, thank you. It's a bank you can trust. So please, from here, if you don't have a bank account already, kindly do us a favor and bank with GCB. We are live on the multimedia channels. Joy Multimedia, our main media partner. You pulled this off for us. The publicity has been awesome. Thank you for your partnership. GTV, we thank you for your partnership. Graphic Communications Group. DDP, I'm sure you all saw the wonderful adult publicity out there, and they came through for us. So we thank you so much, DDP, as proud sponsor. GH1, for your support. Our supporting partners, SIC, Insurance Papa, and Atlantic Catering and Logistics. A few of us will have the privilege to sample their menu. So thank you very much. Ajensa, you came through. Thank you so very much. Special Eyes, Guinness Ghana, we appreciate you. Build It Sisters, events and more. Thank you very much. That said, we'll continue with the program. I would like to invite the board chairman of GCB Bank and our former Vice Chancellor, Professor Joshua Alabi, to give us brief remarks. You see, the one who pays for the event gets some time to tell us something. And I would like to specially acknowledge the role Professor Alabi played in getting us all the funds that we use. So thank you so very much, Prof. Alabi, as we welcome him.
Before I start, I also would like to acknowledge the presence of my Chief Finance Officer. He signed the whole this thing, so he's here. He's here. Your Majesty, Otumfuo Osei II, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies, all other protocols observed. On behalf of the board and management of GCB Bank, PLC, I wish to express our sincere appreciation to the leadership of the University of Professional Studies, Accra, for organizing this important Ghana business program and for creating a platform that brings together leadership, academia, policymakers, and industry to discuss the future of our country, and for that matter, our continent. We are particularly honored by the presence and the profound insights shared by His Royal Majesty Akufo-Addo Tutu earlier this afternoon. His address once again demonstrates visionary leadership, deep wisdom, and an unwavering commitment to national development, private sector growth, youth empowerment, and African progress. At GCB Bank, we strongly believe that institutions grow and nations prosper when knowledge, leadership, and enterprise are brought together. That is why we are proud to be a major sponsors of this program. Supporting initiatives such as this is fully aligned with our mission as Ghana's leading indigenous bank. A bank committed not only to financial service, but also to education, innovation, entrepreneurship, and national transformation. It is the only bank that has 184 branches doing business across the length and breadth of this country. For over 7 decades, GCB Bank has remained a trusted partner to businesses, public institutions, SMEs, and the general public. With our wide national footprint, strong digital transformation agenda, and commitment to customer excellence, we continue to position ourselves as the bank that supports Ghanaian dreams and drives economic growth. We commend UPSA for consistently promoting thought leadership and practical engagement between the academia and industry. And that is the way to go if our young ones are able to perform. This is an institution that believes in education and transformation, but not certification. Partnership between universities and corporate institutions are essential if we are to build the next generation of ethical, innovative, and globally competitive leaders. Let me assure you that GCB Bank will continue to support initiatives that inspire ideas, promote enterprise, and contribute meaningfully to Ghana's development. Thank you very much, GCB, your bank for life. And God bless our own man, Ghana.
Thank you very much, Prof. Alabi. Next time when you want 5 minutes, 2 minutes to talk, please sponsor. Because I heard people, so when you sponsor, you get a few minutes to come and talk about your company. GCB has earned the right to do that, so thank you very much. I would like to acknowledge our partner, Piva Drinks, who have also supported us. Thank you very much, Piva. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the IGP. You saw the security on campus today on your way here. didn't you? Thank you so much, Dr. Christian Teteyonu, and your team. You've been supportive. The ceremonial band, thank you so much. Thank you. I also like to acknowledge Honorable Kandapa, who has been instrumental in the go-to and back from Inchia. Thank you so very much, Honorable Kandapa. I like to acknowledge the presence of the Ghana Church representative, Ni Ahene Nono III, Paramount Chief of Abola. Thank you very much, Ni. I also like to acknowledge the presence of Ni Tobo Obodai Ampao, the 6th Chief of Mimpasem. Thank you so much for gracing the occasion. We would now invite the culture troupe to give us Ghana Dance Ensemble to give us a cultural display. Let's appreciate them. Let's appreciate the Ghana Dance Ensemble from the University of Ghana. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the Chief of Ogbojo and the chiefs from La. If you are here, we acknowledge your presence. Thank you very much for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. This is why we have put on hold our schedules for today, while we have held off appointments, just to hear Otumfuo speak to us. Today we have come to the lecture room to learn, away from the boardroom. And I know that we will all leave here different than we came. We would have learned a lesson or two about integrity, about fairness, about transparency, and about accountability. There are leaders who hold titles, and there are leaders whose very presence reorders a room. There are those whose words carry the weight of wisdom, and over decades of service, sacrifice, and state craftsmanship. Our royal lecturer this evening needs no introduction, for his life and reign have already spoken volumes. He has demonstrated time and again that true leadership is not about how loud one's voice is, but the depth of one's integrity. That lasting peace is built not on force, but on trust. And that a leader who negotiates with honor leaves a legacy that outlasts any transaction. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Otumfuo Osei Tutu II. Before he gives his lecture, I'm sure the appellations will start before he comes.
Frampo, Damni Favisi.
Ajako Freeze Frampo, no, Damni Favisi.
Say to everybody in Yavisio.
Say to everybody in Yavisio.
When a Namusuma and Kabom and Punto and Kosoba was Santimam Ghana Manina.
When a Namusuma and Kabom, Punto and Kosoba Ghana was Santimana.
Obinia Sabian Kobebi.
Obinia Sabian Kobebi.
Black Wabakana de Frampo, Damni Favisi.
Black Wabakana de Frampo, no, Damni Favisi.
Mema Davido da Koyadungen.
Mema Davido da Koyadungen.
Yadamania Diakubo Ajota touch more champon fungen.
Yadamania Diakubo Ajota touch more champon fungen.
Oh, Tosika Samana Jakungen.
Oh, Tosika Samana Jakungen.
Jakaba Banko Flower.
Jakaba Banko Flower.
Sajife Frampo, Damnifao.
Sajife Frampo, no, Damnifao.
Set to tell more than you visio.
Set to tell more than you visio.
One Sajifo Gunyagua singing.
One Sajifo Gunyagua singing.
Class Antina singing.
One cross Antina singing.
One Kubada to Baba de Blefa Gunyagua Sajuna Chebera.
Joe. Why don't you come up so I can see those who invited me? Come here. Come on, man. Is it all right? You are blocking the people who invited me. Come here. Thank you. John, we are delighted to be back in the nation's capital in celebration of the spirit of togetherness that underlines the unity and strength of our beloved republic. We are delighted to return to the warm embrace of our cherished alma mater. And as always, Joe. And as always, we come to pay homage to our illustrious past, to renew our vows to the present, and to draw fresh inspiration for the continuing journey of generations yet unborn. We have always been proud of this university. We're proud of the foundations it gave us. This afternoon I was telling the former Vice Chancellor, the Vice Chancellor that Kandabai and I were working down to Medina to buy our food. And at times he didn't have food, so I had to make sure that he had food to eat. He gave us, proud of the contribution it has made, and proud of the men and women it continues to produce for the service of Ghana, Africa, and the world. But I dare say, there has been no time to be prouder than now. Today, this university opens new grounds with a highly innovative initiative for which the leadership deserves the highest applause. The Ghana Business Conclave is an idea conceived in the best of times. Our nation stands only a few months shy of her 70th birthday. We are within reach of 7 decades as a sovereign independent nation. The right to govern ourselves, to manage our own affairs in our own way, can never be in dispute. Ghana has earned her place in the history of Africa and the world. We are entitled to be proud that we led the way in the struggle for the total liberation of the African continent. From Algeria to Angola, from Mozambique to Zimbabwe, from the struggle against colonial domination to the collapse of apartheid in South Africa, the hand of Ghana was ever present, ever firm, and ever critical. We have given the world Busumuru Kofi Annan. We have given the world Dr. Robert Gardner, A.L. Edu Kenneth Gyasi, and our proud daughter, Baroness Shirley Ayoko Boche, who was risen to serve as Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations. And yet, ladies and gentlemen, when we look back over almost 7 decades of independence, we must ask ourselves whether we have made the best of our freedom in our lives. We must ask whether the promise of independence has been translated into prosperity in every home, opportunity for every child, and dignity for every citizen. There is no truer measure of our national progress than the state of the economy. It is the economy that determines whether we are able to provide food for the table, shelter for families, clothes for children, education for our people, healthcare for our communities, and safety for our homes. By any measure, every Ghanaian will hope that our best years are still ahead. But we must be honest enough to admit that the past decades have been too dominated by politics, and not always by politics of the kind that builds nations. Allegiance to party has too often been stronger than allegiance to the state. We have sung the praises of politicians and ignored those whose toil, innovation, and enterprise drive nations forward. After almost 70 years, the lesson is clear. We have had enough of talk. Ghana must now become a nation of builders. We must move from political rhetoric to building business. We must move from slogans to production. We must move from lamentation to enterprise. We must move from dependency to value creation. We must move from the garden path of promises to the hard road of work, discipline, sacrifice, and innovation. The decade before us must be the decade of business, must be the decade in which all our energies are directed towards building a strong, resilient, ethical, and sustainable economy. Our political leaders must continue to create the right environment, provide the right policy framework, and ensure stability. But the duty to create, to innovate, to build enterprises, to create jobs, and to add value to our natural resources rests also upon citizens, entrepreneurs, professionals, and institutions such as this university. In today's world, business is the driver of prosperity. In the United States, in China, in India, in Japan, in Singapore, in Vietnam, and across the rising economies of the world, prosperity is being driven by enterprise, innovation, technology, creativity, and bold leadership. This is why I'm proud of the leadership of Otumfuo Center for Traditional Leadership housed within this university, for recognizing the demands of the future. This conclave has a potential to make a turning point in national orientation. Since the beginning of time, leadership has been key to the success of society. In peace and in war, nations are as great as the leaders who not only fly the flag, but also create and sustain the building blocks on which the strength of the nation depends. Sadly, in Ghana, our recent experience shows how deeply conflicted we have become about leadership. Every 4 or 8 years, we welcome leaders with great hope. Yet too often, loyalty is short-lived, trust is fragile, and our heroes soon end up in the depths of disappointment. The erosion of trust has left our society with a deficit whose effects go beyond politics. It reaches into business, it reaches into banking, it reaches into the boardroom, the marketplace, the classroom, and the home. We cannot ignore the danger. Democracy requires elections, but nation building requires trust. Democracy changes governments, but trust sustains societies. We may change leaders through the ballot box, but if we do not rebuild confidence in one another, we shall weaken the very foundation on which the Republic rests. This conclave sets us on the right path. It seeks to create a platform for the emergence of leadership committed to doing the right things in the right manner to achieve the right outcomes. It seeks to prepare executives who are not only equipped with technical skills, but also imbued with a mindset for transformative leadership in a new era of business. The theme is therefore most apt: leading with integrity, negotiation, mediation, and ethical governance for business sustainability. In an academic setting such as this, it is tempting to engage in a long discourse on the philosophy of ethics. But today, I do not wish to treat integrity as an abstract idea. Integrity is not merely a word for textbooks. Integrity is the practical reality of life. It is how a person behaves when nobody is watching. It is how a leader acts when power is in his hands. It is how a manager decides when profit is at stake. It is how a nation behaves when convenience tempts it away from truth. International Center for Academic Integrity defines integrity by 6 fundamental values: honesty, trust, fairness, respect, responsibility, and courage.
John.
These are not foreign values. They are universal values. They are also values rooted deeply in our own customs and traditions. Honesty refuses to lie or deceive. Trust creates an environment in which people can rely on the authenticity of work. Fairness ensures that all are held to the same standard. Respect honors the enterprise, dignity, and original ideas of others. Responsibility takes ownership of one's actions, and courage acts on these values even when it is difficult or unpopular.
John.
These 6 pillars are indispensable for business success. Business has always been built on trust. Long before technology, long before long contracts, and long before complex legal language, the foundation of business was a simple principle: my word is my bond.
John.
A handshake carried honor. A promise carried obligation. A name carried value.
John.
The first task of a business leader, therefore, is to build trust. Trust in the boardroom, trust within management, trust on the shop floor, trust with financial partners, trust with the supply chain, and trust with customers. This requires honesty, fairness, respect for rules, and responsibility before society. The honest business leader does not cut corners. He does not think it is clever to avoid statutory obligations. He does not cheat the state and then complain that the nation is weak. He does not ask workers to be honest while he himself is dishonest. If a manager teaches workers to cut corners for the business, one day, those same workers will cut corners for themselves.
John.
On the other hand, when a manager injects honesty into decision-making, honesty flows through the entire organization. It reaches the shop floor. It reaches the customer. It reaches the supplier. It reaches the investor. It becomes the culture of the enterprise.
John.
Fairness is equally important. Workers who feel fairly treated respond with dedication, turn with loyalty. But where there is mistrust, even the fairest decision will be challenged.
John.
We see today too much tension in our boardrooms. We see personality conflicts dragging businesses down. We see arrogance masquerading as leadership. But arrogance is not leadership. Arrogance is a hindrance to harmony. A person who has risen to the office of chief executive must not assume that wisdom begins and ends with him. If he cannot relate respectively to his colleagues, his board, his staff, and his customers, then he does not have the skill set needed to operate a sustainable business.
John.
Along with honesty and fairness, humility is a virtue. I recommend to every executive, no matter how highly placed you may be, you must acknowledge that you are only one person in a long chain of actors whose combined efforts produce success. This applies to the public sector as much as it does to the private sector. Some may find it concerning that Ghana's economy remains dominated by the state sector, while the domestic private sector is not moving at the desired pace. Stimulating the private sector must remain a national priority. But private sector leadership must also embrace the values we profess. Our own traditions provide us with rich reference points. It is regrettable that because our society came late to the written word, much of the wisdom of our ancestors was not recorded on paper. But the customs and traditions they handed down are as rich in moral content as any found in the world. It is that tradition that has enabled us Santiman to play the role of mediator, arbiter, and peace builder. It is the value system of our fathers that has sustained the unity and self-respect of our Santiman and enabled us to serve Ghana, Africa, and humanity. Many know the king as the war leader, the commander-in-chief in battle, and the dispenser of justice. But the king is also mediator and peacemaker. The golden stool commands integrity from its occupant. It ensures the kingship is founded on moral values that cannot be violated. Before the king in state, there's no Ohineba and no Ahinkwa. There's no Asantini or Hoho. All are treated equally. There's truth and there's justice. Fidelity to truth is the absolute guardian of our actions. Drawing strength from the moral and spiritual values of kingship, we were able, upon our ascension to the golden stool, to resolve disputes that threatened the unity of our Santiman. In time, we extended that experience to the resolution of wider national conflicts. The lesson is simple. Every conflict has a solution. Every dispute, once started by men, can be resolved by men. If they apply reason, fairness, patience, perseverance, and respect for truth and honor. These same attributes are needed in business, from shop floor to boardroom, from shareholder disputes to labor relations, from contract negotiations to national development planning. Whether you are resolving conflict or inspiring harmony, integrity remains indispensable. This is why negotiation and mediation must not be viewed merely as technical skills. They are moral disciplines. A negotiator without integrity manipulates. A mediator without fairness destroys trust. A leader without ethics may achieve temporary success but will never build a lasting institution. The circumstances of today compel me to cast my mind back to the roots of this beloved university. Our country is only a few months short of 70 years. Many here may not have experienced life in the Gold Coast, but let us imagine the early 50s, a nation stirred by the spirit of self-government, people longing for dignity, and a young man from Amoafo in Amansia arriving in Accra as a reporter at the Daily Graphic. This young man was Nanopu Kwampuma. He looked at his country and saw not only problems but possibilities. He understood that if Ghana was moving towards independence, it would need trained professionals, especially professional accountants, to build the economy and support national governance. He did not sit waiting for government. He did not wail over the difficulty. He asked himself what he could do for the nation. He had no bank balance, but he had vision. He had ingenuity. He had courage. He had the drive to scale heights in pursuit of his dreams. Let us visualize that young reporter walking the difficult path from idea to institution. What began as a dream in difficult circumstances has today become the University of Professional Studies, Accra. He did it not merely because he was exceptional, but because he applied himself with integrity to the pursuit of a vision. Today, UPSA stands as a prime symbol of Ghanaian entrepreneurship, professionalism, and scholarship. It is a flagship of what Ghana can achieve when the creative enterprise of its people is harnessed for the common good. To the students gathered here, I say that you are not merely preparing for employment, You are preparing for responsibility. Some of you will become chief executives, lawyers, engineers, doctors, entrepreneurs, ministers, academics, chiefs, public servants, bankers, and civil society leaders. When that day comes, Ghana will not ask only what degree you obtained, but Ghana will ask what kind of person you became. Do not admire wealth without asking how it was made. Do not admire power without asking how it was used. Do not admire success without asking who suffered for it. Do not measure greatness only by cars, houses, titles, and public applause. Measure greatness also by honesty, service, discipline, and the courage to do right when wrongdoing is profitable. Your generation must refuse to normalize corruption. You must refuse to celebrate environmental destruction. You must refuse to accept that politics must always divide us. You must refuse to believe that Africa's future must be built on borrowed values alone. You must be modern but rooted and ambitious but ethical, confident but humble, successful, and then responsible. After 70 years, Ghana must be done with talkers and open to builders. We must tell the world that Ghana is open for business. But we must also tell ourselves that business without integrity is danger. Leadership without humility is arrogance. And prosperity without ethics is fragile. Let this conclave mark a new beginning. Let us send forth leaders who understand that negotiation is not manipulation. Mediation is not weakness. Governance is not bureaucracy. And business is not greed. Let it produce men and women who would build enterprises, resolve disputes, create jobs, honor contracts, respect workers, pay taxes, protect the environment, and serve the nation. If we do this, then the next decade would not be another decade of lamentation. It will be a decade of enterprise. It will be a decade of ethical leadership. It will be a decade of builders. Ladies and gentlemen, I congratulate the University of Professional Studies, Accra, and I congratulate my also center, the Otumfuo Center for Traditional Leadership also. I'm going to come there later. So that I congratulate all who have made this conclave possible. And I thank you, Joshua, for making Ghana Commercial Bank funders for us. Thank you very much. May the wisdom of our ancestors guide us. May the courage of our youth inspire us. May the integrity of leadership sustain us. And may Ghana rise, not merely as a nation of promise, but as a nation of achievement. Let us all step forward and build a great nation together again. Thank you.
Your Royal Majesty, Otumfuo Tutu II, thank you. I told you we're going to school, and I have taken bits and pieces to transform my little directorate so that going forward my decision is fair, and that accountability, I'm holding everybody to account, in my directorate, so watch out, people of public affairs. And I know we are all going back, leading with integrity. And I believe that Ghana will be a better place if we all, in a small way, let integrity lead us. Thank you very much, Nana. We have a special presentation to Otumfuo, and I would like to call on the Chancellor, the Chairman of the UPSA Governing Council, the Vice Chancellor, the Chairman of the 60th Anniversary Planning Committee, the Registrar, to please come up and do the special presentation on behalf of the university. Let's welcome His Royal Majesty Otumfuo.
Your Majesty, obviously the speech is worth more than this painting. As you know, there isn't anything we can present to you. You have everything. Everything is at your feet. However, we want this occasion to be remembered forever. So that this can find a place either in the palace or in the museum. This is the letter that the University of Professional Studies, your own alma mater, we want to give to you for honoring us with your invitation and delivering that powerful speech, which I believe will be circulated widely. We give you this little gift.
Thank you very much. Kindly resume your seats. Thank you. Thank you very much. We would like to acknowledge our sponsors once more. GCB Bank, your bank for life. Actually, UPS is bank for life, actually. Thank you so very much. The multimedia group, Joy Business, 99.7 FM, Joy News. DDP, Expect More. The Daily Graphic, GTV, TV3, and GH1, our media partners. Our supporting partners, we like to acknowledge you. SIC Insurance PLC, Atlantic Catering and Logistics, Adnisa Publications Ghana Limited, Special Eyes, our refreshing water they gave us. Guinness Ghana, we acknowledge you for all the drinks you gave us. Build It Sisters, events and more for the beautiful decor you see around here. Piva Drinks, thank you so very much. We will come again next year. As we bring the program to a close, I would like to invite the chairman of our governing council, Dr. Harry Lawson K. Agbanu, to give us the closing remarks. Let's welcome him with a clap.
Your Royal Majesty, Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II, the Asantehene, my Chancellor, members of the Governing Council, and my Vice Chancellor, all protocols observed, I have no doubt that everyone here, even the most ardent skeptics, would agree with me that our engagement today has been a masterclass. The substance, the delivery, the discourse prove that if we allow ourselves time, we may want to be here listening to Otumfuo the whole night. Distinguished business leaders, Nime, Name, Nananum, Togbio, Mamao, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we came with packed schedules, business cards, and networking ambitions. But let's be honest, some of us came to reunite with long-lost friends, but we are having to leave with something far more nourishing and enduring: leadership with integrity. What leading with integrity means to business sustainability in our nation. Integrity is the foundation upon which sustainable enterprises are built. Ethical governance is not the soft option. It is indeed the imperative. In a world of increasing scrutiny, demanding investors and empowered customers, integrity is the only viable imperative. The boardroom table, ladies and gentlemen, is the mirror to an organization. How we conduct ourselves when the stakes are high and the shortcut is tempting reveals our true character as leaders and the soul of our generations and organizations. At UPSA, we are committed to molding men and women of principle who understand that a deal struck with integrity always outlasts a deal struck with deception. And indeed, Otufo has recounted this to us. History shows that, proves that. We have invested our time in something worthwhile today. Now, let us invest our convictions in our boardrooms, at our negotiation tables, and in the quiet moments when nobody is watching. Ghana's business future will be built by leaders who choose to do right, even and especially when doing wrong appears more attractive and easier. That is the standard. Let us uphold it. Thank you very much. God bless Ghana and make her great and strong through our individual and collective choices and actions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman of Council. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Dr. James Kluche Aveji, the CEO of the Glyco Group of Companies, Mr. Edward Fukuoche. Thank you, sir, for coming. Dr. Martin Yamborija, Acting Commissioner, Domestic Tax Revenue Division of GRA. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. We are almost done. This is the UPS way. Brief, but very impactful. I'd like to also acknowledge the Director General of GBC, if it's here, with a wave. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. I would like to invite the Registrar, Mrs. Lauren Jan, to thank us all for coming and to acknowledge a few of us. Let's welcome her. That's very true.
Oftentimes, when such royalty meets with academia, our words are very limited, and the summary of it is just to say thank you. But today I'll try to weave a few words around it, so that like the wafts and the wefts of the kente cloth, we would have a few deliveries for His Royal Majesty for doing us such honor. So on behalf of the management, staff, faculty, students, and the entire student body of the University of Professional Studies, I stand with deep humility this evening and profound gratitude to express our heartfelt appreciation for your esteemed presence at this business gathering and the conclave earlier held. Your Royal Majesty, it is a great honor and joy to once again have you to honor your presence, to honor us with your presence, for this elevated occasion beyond an academic gathering, turning it into a royal and national moment of reflection on leadership, ethics, and sustainable development. We are especially grateful for your wise counsel and the rich traditional and moral philosophy you continue to share with Ghana and the world at large. Indeed, you do not limit your reign to your kingdom. Over the decades, you have shared your values of nobility, integrity, reconciliation, and visionary leadership with us all. Values which sit at the very heart of today's theme. Values which, when imbibed, will propel the business community and the nation forward. As we reflect on ethical governance and mediation, we are reminded that in Ghana, leadership has always been rooted in wisdom, fairness, and peace building, principles that continue to inspire modern governance and business practice. Otumfo, we are grateful. We are indeed very grateful. To our Chancellor, Dr. KK Sapon, we are very grateful to you for always standing by and behind us, and in fact, fronting us when necessary to propel the name of the university forward. To our former Chancellor, our former Chair of Council, our current Chair of Council, Dr. Harry Agbanu, we are grateful to you all for honoring our invitation today. To the business community, what can we say? Without you, this program wouldn't have been a success. As much as you cleaned from us, we also depended on you to make this occasion a successful one, and we are very, very grateful. As we embark on our journey home, we want to say that we pray the Lord's guidance to lead you all. To your Royal Majesty, as you take leave of us today, we say Nyame Nhyira and Kwatenten and Nyansa Foforo upon you. May the Almighty God continue to grant you strength, wisdom, and good health as you sit in state over Santiman and continue to serve as a beacon of peace and moral leadership across the world. Once again, we say Ayiko Kesiepa to your Majesty and to you all for having contributed to the success of this distinguished event. Thank you very, very much, and have a good evening.
Appreciate the registrar of our dear university, Mrs. Lauren Jan. Thank you very much. We bring our beautiful program today to a close as we invite the university chaplain, Reverend Theophilus Tete, and thereafter we would have the university anthem and have the group photographed, and then we'll be done for the day. Thank you very much.
Shall we please bow down our heads for a word of prayer? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you once again, and we bless you so much for a successful program. You started with us and you have seen us through. We thank you for that piece of wisdom that has been shared to all of us. We ask, Holy Spirit, that from here we will manifest that grace. The wisdom that has been shared will be seen in our day-to-day work as leaders in our various places of work. We thank you. Lord, you brought us in safely. We pray for His Royal Majesty, even as you carried him on your wings and you brought him here to come and share with us. We pray that your Spirit will carry him home. And with his entourage, let your mighty grace be with them. We thank you for all who are here, sitting under the sound wisdom of this great man that you have given to this nation. We pray that, Lord, you will go with us. And when a new dawn breaks, we will say thank you for all that you have done for us. We bless you. In In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Please, shall we rise for the anthem? You can sing along. If you have the brochure, it's right behind the brochure.
Studies are crowned, the beacon path lays out. The trains educates and goes on, we feed our nation strong. University of professional studies are crowned, the beacon path lays on. The trains educates and goes on. So let's raise from the cradle of truth and courage our nations toward us. So let's flourish from the fathomless mine of knowledge our nations toward us. UPSA, the star, UPSA, our nation's pride. The strength, educate, and grows Ghana. We feed our nation strong. The strength, educate, and grows Ghana. We feed our nation strong. Scholarship with professionalism, the first among equals. We pledge to turn from slaughter his pursuit but uncharted. Scholarship with professionalism, the first among equals. Uncharted. Trains, educates, and grows Ghana. We feed our nation strong. That trains, educates, and grows Ghana. We feed our nation strong. UPSA, the star. UPSA, our nation's pride. That trains, educates, and goes Ghana. We feed our nation strong. That strength, educates, and goes Ghana. We feed our nation strong.
A few pictures. And so I would like to invite two pictures. So I should invite. So kindly, Chancellor, Chairman of Council, kindly, the Chairman of the 60th Anniversary Planning Committee, and yes, right there. Please don't be in a hurry to go. For those who have the e-invite, you are kindly invited to the cocktail thereafter. Your e-invitation card allows
This week on the Career Trail.
The system that we got the opportunity to go through doesn't give you what Cambridge gives you. We had a discussion on who should.
I am Anas Sabit on the principal streets of Tichiman, and this is Joy News. Independent, fearless, and credible.
Did you know that some videos circulating on social media falsely claiming to be from Joy News and advertising some drugs are fakes? These fake videos advertise unapproved medicines using deep fakes of our presenters to endorse these medicines. Here's one example.
Blood pressure exceeds 120/80, internal organs are affected, and a stroke occurs. A famous doctor has developed a drug that prevents high blood pressure.
You can learn to spot these fake videos. Here's how. The first sign. Notice how the lips of the anchor do not exactly match the words being spoken. Also, pay attention to the Joy News logo in the bottom left corner. With a real Joy News logo, the globe rotates. If you spot a static logo, it is an indication the video you're watching is fake. Doctored videos often have slight inconsistencies. It could be in the audio quality, visual glitches, or even lighting. Listen to this audio carefully.
Johnson Haynes will talk about a drug from the USA.
You will notice that this is computer generated and lacks the natural pauses and rhythms of a human voice. You will notice something irregular at the edge of the head and the background. It is because the image has most likely been superimposed on that background. Another indication that this video is fake. Finally, always check who is posting the video. In this instance,
hello and welcome to another edition of Touchline. I'm George Addo Jr. We are always excited to have you join us, and even more excited to have our friends join us to do the discussion. We're very, very close to the very end of the 2025-26 European season. It's been a very interesting one. At the moment, I think a lot of titles have been settled. There's still quite a lot to be done there in England. There's still very much between Arsenal and Manchester City, with so much to come. I think elsewhere, we have an idea of how it's going. So Kofi joining us from Canada, of course, is in his Barcelona jersey. It must feel good. It must look good. Despite the disappointment in Europe, you finally got it wrapped up. How does it feel?
It feels amazing. You know, before you go, they say, you know, generosity begins at home. So before you think about winning outside, you have to win at home. So winning the domestic league, you know, gives us confidence twice back to back. And I think we're in good position to bounce back in Europe as well. So we're happy as Barca fans.
I was just thinking, so the last time Barcelona won the Champions League was in 2015.
You don't have to remind us so painfully that it's been a long time, but it has. Amazing. Shockingly, it's been about more than 10 years now.
And it was with the defending champion in terms of the coach, Luis Enrique. Handled Barcelona to win. And that's what I've been saying about. I'm not moving away, but that's what I've been saying really about Luis Enrique, that he is a really, really good coach. I know Pep Guardiola did all the things that he did at Barcelona was great, but Pep Guardiola kept mentioning two names. there was Luis Enrique, and he also mentioned Tito Villanova. May he still rest in perfect peace. But I think if he stayed on, if cancer did not take him away, Tito Villanova will have been a very dangerous coach to deal with. And people forget what Tito did. I think there was Mama Martinez also who came in between, and then there was Luis Enrique. And Luis Enrique did a fantastic job. He had the prime MNS. He had Messi, Neymar, Suarez.
Yep.
And it was a great one. Beat Juventus 3-1 in that spectacular Champions League season. So to see him doing things at PSG and almost daring to do a back-to-back is something very, very special. So I think you lost quite a lot back in there. Would you be happy Pep Guardiola comes back to Barcelona?
I'm hearing rumors of Mourinho coming back to Madrid. So if Mourinho's going to come back to Madrid, I think all of us can go back to our guru coaches. That was a high time. I remember those El Clasicos, Mourinho versus Pep. That was prime time football. So perhaps if they want to go to that level, we might have to go back to our guy.
You may have to go there. But you think that you've got Lamine Yamal, Pep may be interested. Let's see how it goes. Let's bring in Desmond as well. Desmond joining us from Cornwall here in the United Kingdom. Should be very, very excited with the way Arsenal have progressed. They're back in the final of the Champions League for the first time since 2006. How does that feel already?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a tough time for us now, given the whole so many years of being red record and all. But since Arteta came in, it's been a progressive season. He got to the quarterfinals. We were unfortunately eliminated by Bayern Munich. We got to the semi-finals. We had a very tough time with Donnarumma being on steroids at that time. And this season, we are in the finals against PSG again. So we can only hope for the best. 30th May would be glued to
in Budapest. Do you want to go to Hungary? Will you be there? You're not far away from it, are you? You're not. So you can go if you want to.
It's not because I wasn't envisioning that we would get to the finals, but a lot of poor planning and stuff. So maybe next year, once we get to the finals again, we'll make plans for that.
Well, yeah, we'll see how that actually goes. Let's see if Arsenal can go all the way to win it. The last time they were in the final, they lost to Barcelona. 2-1. You know all the stories in that one. So can they do it again?
A controversial loss again.
We will see how it goes. 30th of May, we'll definitely be doing our build-up here on the show, as you guys know, as we try to get into it and running over things. So we may want to start with the title race in England because we know it's quite settled over there in Spain, in Italy as well, in Germany. We've settled all of that, but we have to talk about Arsenal and talk about Manchester City. I don't know where you stand on this, Kofi, where you stand on this. Is it over?
It's not over until it's over. Arsenal, especially with a team like Arsenal, who has a history of historic bottling, at key stages. Even though it's only 2 games, they have to win the 2 games. A single draw can, bring a lot of pressure on them. So I think because it's Arsenal and just because of the history they've had of finishing second, bottling important games, I think if I was an Arsenal coach or on the management staff, I'll be very locked in for these 2 games. I wouldn't, prematurely be planning parades in my head like some of us people are already doing, planning the parade routes. I think that's a dangerous thing that might make you lose focus. So I would say it's not over until it's over. Arsenal should win the 2 games and be sure that the league is wrapped up.
Desmond, where do you sit on all of this? Do you think people are almost just trying to create a narrative that's not there, that Arsenal bottle, and so even with 2 games to go, surely by now you should be confident that it's almost done, isn't it?
I mean, we've got 2 finals to play, and with the whole agenda about bottling and all, we had Liverpool that had about 4 games to go, and unfortunately, during Luis Suarez time, they couldn't win the league. They had Palace. They were actually leading Palace, and Palace came back to equalize, and the game ended 3-3. No one made noise about it. We had Manchester United going toe-to-toe with Man City. No one made noise about it. We had Liverpool being chasing City for quite some time, and they unfortunately lost the league by 1 point. No one made noise about it. So they can go ahead and make all their noise. At the end of the day, we'll see who will become.
But Andy, to be fair to those who make the noise about these are one-offs, Sunday one-offs. I mean, Liverpool slip. They slip. Yeah.
Look at
but then you have been second 3 times or so. Then.
Yeah, but then if you look at the team that Arsenal had at that time, no one gave us the opportunity or even the chance. Before that season, we were fifth. So the following season, out of nowhere, everyone started trying to believe because of how well the team was. But at that time, we had a very thin spine, or we didn't have good backup players and all. And one injury just derailed the team when Saliba got injured. Unfortunately, we had to draw against Southampton at home, and that changed a lot. And this is a young team, a team that hadn't won any trophy for quite some time, especially the Premier League for over 20 years. So you wouldn't expect things to just ravel out of nowhere. Liverpool had the same span when they had forgotten the name of the
Sadio Mane.
No, before Klopp came in.
Is it Brendan Rodgers or who are we talking?
Yeah, Brendan Rodgers. They were close to winning the trophy, and what happened? Things went astray, but no one made noise about it till Klopp came in. Even Klopp, it took him about 3 to 4 years before he finally won the league. So it's just a narrative that's been created. It's if you have a team that has gone barren for the Premier League for quite some time, it takes a lot for you to cross that bridge. And luckily, the team has matured. They've been there. They've seen it all. They've had their disappointment, and 2 games to go. We can only be hopeful.
But I'm sure, Kofi, you want to come in on this one again. I think this one has made the point about the narratives and everything, but I'm also looking through the Arsenal lens and saying, well, just maybe, Man City shouldn't be as close as they are at this point. So they should not be. If Arsenal do what they are supposed to do, and is that your worry? The fact that they are seemingly in the lead and then they let go, or they allow the opponent to come in. I don't know if you're trying to do the comparisons again. If Liverpool had a kind of streak that Arsenal had, maybe in the season, it probably should be 3 or 4 games of the season is already wrapped there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's where questions of having what they call a killer instincts comes in. You have this lead, you when you have a chance to kill the animal, you strangle it. You have to, go for the jugular, they say. That means you kill it and it's over. But if you don't, once you don't kill it, it's still alive. You never know. City is still alive. There's 2 games left, and there's numerous scenarios where City can win this league. So that alone makes it's a reality. I mean, there's 2 games left, and City has a legitimate chance to, if they win both games and you even draw 1 game, I think